What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, and I hope you had a Merry Christmas and you're having a Happy New Year. It is your boy Eric and your boy Jonathan on the other side of the screen here,
Yo,
and we just want to welcome you back for another episode of Just Visiting. If you're new to the channel, just to remind you, Just Visiting is a kind of a discussion channel where we talk about all different kinds of topics, ranging from video games, movies, to sports, to current events to news, all different kinds of stuff. So we just try to just visit every single topic and jump from topic as we're talking. There's some rabbit trails every once in a while, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So we hope
every
you'll
once
join
in a
us.
while, you said.
Every once in a while, yeah. Yeah, we've never had an hour and a half stream turn into like 3 hours or anything. That's crazy. That happens almost all the time. But anyways, Jonathan, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I had a good Christmas. How was your Christmas?
I'm turned out pretty well. Turned out pretty well. I was, as you get older, you get more excited for the gifts you give than the gifts you receive. So it
Yeah,
was an
yeah.
exciting time.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I just get really excited to like see somebody else open the gift that I got
Yeah,
them
yeah.
more than because I want to see their face
The
versus
reaction
like
to it, yeah.
versus like the other. So we bought we bought my sister a bunch of makeup for Christmas, and she's like taking cosmetology classes. She's in high school, so for people who don't know, but she's taking cosmetology classes at a technical like trade school near where she lives, and basically she's really been wanting to get learn makeup a little bit more, and she's been really into that. So like we went and bought her some like kind of nicer expensive makeup because she always buys like cheap drugstore stuff, and like that's what she like $2 stuff or $3 stuff, and she was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, like she was like really excited to get it. So that was fun to watch. And then like we got my mom a book, like a we went to Shutterfly and made like a book of all of our wedding pictures, like a photo book, and my mom really liked it. She like almost cried. And then we got my grandma like a big blow up picture of like a family portrait from our wedding, because it has like my grandparents in it, my brother and sister, has Katie, my sister, and then it has my parents in it as well. And so it's kind of like a big family picture. So that they really liked that as well. So we had some good, I feel like I got some good responses.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. What did you get? Did you guys get anybody anything?
Yeah, we kind of split up the family because our family's so big. She has like several
Yeah.
different kinds of families and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
kind of split them up. I got the guys, she got the girls. So we got to get them some earrings. I think that's what she bought the girls, was earrings and some coats and some sweaters and stuff like that.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
we are pending on some other things, so I can't yet release these details. Just in case somebody happens
That's
to
fine.
watch this one stream and they're like, but
Like what?
so but I think my favorite part was the gifts I got for her because I was really like trying to do it nice this year for her.
Hmm.
She's been working so hard. So I got her a gift card to some makeup place that she likes, and I got her what else did I get her? Oh, a makeup. She's been asking for a jewelry box for forever. Then I
Oh,
got her
cool.
a juicer as well. We call it juicer. Yes,
Wow.
juicer. It's a juicer. She really wanted a juicer. I don't know why, but I'm hoping to drink a lot of juice in the future.
Yeah,
I better be drinking a lot of juice in the
you
future.
will. Don't worry.
um, and
Dang, what
I
kind of
got her.
juicer did you get her? Was it like
Uh,
a like fancy one, or was it kind of like a lower tier one, or?
I got it for Amazon. I thought it seemed like a brand I recognized. I think it was like
Mhm.
Sharp on or something like that.
Oh,
Sharper, or
okay.
I don't know. Um, and I got her 2 fur coats because she really wanted some fur coats.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about those. That's
Mhm.
cool. Well, I ended up getting my wife. I ended up getting her the newest like Amazon Kindle that came out. It's called a Kindle Paperwhite. It's the signature edition. Oh, like that. I don't know why
I didn't know she like,
companies.
I didn't know she like, reading like that.
Yeah, she does. She likes it. She had an old Kindle, but she stopped using it because of how old it was. Like it would glitch and stuff, and she just was kind of like, I don't use this anymore. Um, but what's cool about Kindle is like they try to make it like the experience on that like little tablet like as close to a book as it can be. So she kind of like you can actually like turn the pages and stuff. So like she likes that kind of stuff. She's a big book nerd, so she loves like young adult fiction, and she's super into that. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and our second bedroom is full with like I mean, I have a lot of books myself, but she takes up probably like 70% of it, like of this huge shelf that we have. So, and it's overflowing because we just bought her like 6 more books like recently because we got some Christmas money. So we just bought her. She was like, "Can I get some books?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can get some books." So she just bought like a bunch. Um, but I got her that. I got her this like gold necklace that has a tiny A on it for her name. And then I also got her. What else did I get her? Um, excuse me, guys. I haven't had my coffee today. I also got her a this makeup, this foundation she's been wanting. That's kind of expensive that she's been really wanting, but hasn't bought it because it's never on sale. I got her that, and then I also got her. There's one other thing I can't remember. I keep forgetting the fourth thing that I got her, but I got her something else. But she was pretty happy. Oh, I got her some. I can't. Well, I got her some stuff from a store at the mall that she's been wanting. I can't really say what it is, but it's kind of personal to her. But anyways, it was good. It worked out well, and she was excited. So we were happy about that, and I think we had a good Christmas. She got me a Nintendo Switch, the OLED one. So shout out to her because those were really
I
hard
was
to
gonna
find.
ask, was that your favorite gift of this Christmas?
Probably. I've been playing it recently. I'd say the last 2 to 3 days I've been playing it quite a bit. Around Christmas time, I got to play it like a little bit, but I didn't really get into it. But I got some Christmas money, so like I actually have them right here. I bought some video games for it. So I got it came with Zelda, and then I bought her mom got me Super Mario Odyssey, and then for us to play together, I got Mario Party Superstars, which is great. We
Hey,
played it
Mario
once.
Party, yeah, yeah.
You like Mario Party?
Of course, man, of course.
Yeah, I feel like people who like game and actually have played Mario Party, like Mario Party's a fun game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and Adolin had never played it, so we played it together. And then I also bought Super Smash Brothers
Oh,
Ultimate.
snap.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited. I'm all ready to get some friends and and play sometime. So but it's been exciting. I've got to play that a little bit. I got a bunch of other stuff though. I got two two people got me a similar gift, so I got 2 pizza stones for my oven. You got me this awesome Thor hammer that's back here if anybody can see it. I'm not going to take it off
Is
cuz
that like Baby Groot on it?
yeah, it's Baby Groot with a bowl of jelly beans. So I'm gonna slide him over so he doesn't fall. But we got this hammer from you,
Is
so
it pretty
thank you for that.
lightweight?
Yeah, it's super
I was
lightweight.
I was kind of hoping
It
they put some
feels
weight
good.
in it.
Yeah, they could have made it a little bit heavier, but
But
I
hey,
mean
man, you're
it's
worthy. You're worthy. So I guess it
I am
would be
worthy.
lightweight for you.
That's fair.
You
Well,
know.
they always say it's got in the movies they say it's got a nice swing. So I don't know. But what we're gonna do is our other bedroom that we're not really using for a bedroom, we're gonna turn it into like a library office, and we'll
Okay.
probably hang this up in there. So with a bunch of posters and that. Um, what else did I get? Her mom always goes all out. So I got a nice set of knives and a knife roll. That was great. I can't remember what else I got. I got a ton of other things. So but it was fun. It all worked out pretty well. And my parents got me some nice clothes. And my brother got me the other pizza stone that I got. And yeah, so it was good. We had a good time, and we just enjoyed being around family though. I mean, people always talk about the presents because it's exciting, but which it is exciting to tell everybody what you got. But it was just nice being around family and getting have
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
food and all that too. So before we get into our actual topics for the day, what did you get for Christmas?
Oh, I got lots of clothes. It's funny. I've gotten 3 um red, what was it, plaid, 3 red plaid long sleeves in a
Oh,
span of
nice.
like, I think I want to say like 2 months. But I got 2 on Christmas from 2 different people. Um, and
Hmm.
but one of them was actually a custom made shirt, so that one was pretty cool.
Hmm.
And so was the other one. The other one I got from Noel's mother-in-law. I also got I got a My Hero Academia shirt for my wife that she
Hmm.
absolutely loved because she was so happy she bought it. She said it was the last one in Walmart, so she was really excited. Um, I also got I feel like I should be wearing something right now. Oh, I got some shoes. I got some shoes. I think my new family is kind of realizing that buying clothes for me is tricky. And I
Yeah.
think my mom realized that, so she kind of just stopped. She's like
Yeah.
every once in a while, like I'll get a little something, something, but most of the
Hmm.
while, most time, like if she's gonna buy me clothes, she wants me to go with her because I have
Yeah.
like a very awkward body type. Like I'm a
Hmm.
medium in t-shirts, but I'm like an extra large in like long sleeves because my arms are just so long.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have weird I just noticed this recently. I have weird shoulders. Like my shoulders are actually
Yeah.
kind of broader, but they're really skinny.
Yeah,
So
you probably need to go to like what I found recently as I've gotten older and a little bit fatter. Uh, I've noticed that I fit my body actually fits big and tall sizes better. So like
yeah,
I'll go to like my mom bought me my mom bought me a shirt from Walmart that was a 3X, but the way it's tailored, if I like button it up, it looks super tight on me. But I'm not like a 3X in t-shirts. I'm like a 2X, but I'm kind of somewhere in between
yeah, yeah,
because sometimes they don't make it big enough around or they won't make it big enough in the shoulders for me. So, but
exactly.
if I go to JC Penney and I go to like if I go to the big and tall section, I could almost always find a t-shirt there that fits me better because it's made for people who are a little bit bigger in the shoulders. And you're like what? You're 6'3"?
6'4", man. How dare you?
You're not 6'4".
I am
Don't.
6'4". I'm six
All
four
right,
and
fine.
probably a quarter, honestly. I think on a good day I'm 6'5", honestly.
All right, that's fair. All right,
But
I guess
I I, I've tried the big and tall section. It's usually too loose for me. So
that's
they had like
fair.
a
You're more of
tall
a
and
slim fit
skinny
guy.
section. Yeah, they have a tall and skinny section. That's kind of
Hmm.
where I would
Tall and skinny.
dominate. But I don't care about clothes that
Yeah,
much, so I really don't like. I mean, I
yeah.
love the clothes that I got for Christmas, obviously, but I don't like.
Hmm.
I'm not like super like trying to find out. I mean, I got one pair of jeans that I know fits me, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, I don't need anything else.
Yeah. My wife was like, she heard that I was getting clothes from somebody, and um, she was like, people should just like get gift cards if they're gonna give you clothes. Like honestly, because they were like, it's so hard to like guess somebody's sizes, and then you have to
Yeah,
take clothes back. And she was just like, it's like super frustrating. And I was like, yeah. I said, I think like gift cards just feel impersonal though. Like it feels
yeah,
like you
yeah,
don't know the person if you get them a gift card. I mean, unless you're giving them a gift along with it, right? Like you gave your wife a gift card to that
yeah.
makeup place, and but you
It was
gave her other stuff too,
yeah,
like
yeah,
along with it. So
yeah. It
it's
was
like,
actually I actually put the gift card inside a little makeup like turntable that I got her.
oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's smart. That's awesome. Well, anyways, but I guess we better move on because if people saw the headline or the title for the episode, they know what we're going to talk about today. So we should probably go ahead and get into that. But I'm glad you had a good Christmas, man, and I
You
hope
don't know how many
everybody else did
bobbleheads you
too.
got?
I
Not really
don't.
bobbleheads. They're like what do you call them?
Well, they're
Pop, pop,
Funko Pops. They
Funko Pop.
originally Funkos used to only be bobbleheads. Jonathan's referencing this comment we got here about how many bobbleheads do I have. I'm probably not sure because to be honest, it goes. I'm gonna move my camera here just a little bit for you guys. This is how far it goes up.
Oh my gosh.
So they go up to the
I didn't
ceiling.
realize it was that tall, honestly.
Yeah, man. And then this isn't all of them. We have more in the closet as well. So
The
we have
valuables.
yeah, well, this is from our dating relationship. We started buying them for each other, and then my wife was just like, "Oh, they're so cute," and I was like, "I think they're fun because it's pop culture, like." And they are pretty collectible. They're fun. We stopped though once we got married because we were like, money. So what was weird is neither one of us bought one for the other for Christmas, which is like probably the first time we haven't done that in like a long time. But I'd say we probably have, man. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Trying to
6,
do some quick math.
7. Yeah, well, 5. I mean, we probably have
Over 50.
probably about 80 something.
Oh wow.
Is probably how many we have.
Okay.
Because we do have more in the closet, but we don't have room to display them. So
I
that's
wonder what
something
the
else.
Guinness World Record for most Funko Pops owned is. It's
Oh,
probably
it's
like in the 200s, right?
there's
300 maybe.
people there's okay, so the Funko Pop community is like huge. There's like people who literally have like rooms. Like I've watched like a documentary or two about toys, and they'll talk about Funko sometimes because that's a really popular brand, and they'll go interview fans, and some fans have like literally like rooms of their home dedicated to their collection, and it's like filled to the brim. They have like the
Okay, so you're not
giant
trying to get like
ones.
that. You're not trying to get that. I
No,
got you.
no,
Okay.
we're not that into it, but they're fun, and they're fun to display. I mean, like that's the first thing people see when they come in the room. I've had like people who repair our stuff, like who repair our apartment, like if something goes wrong, or like our air conditioner went out one time, and the guy came in and he was like, "Wow, you guys collect those?" He was like, "That's pretty cool." He's like, "They might be worth a lot of money one day," and we're like, maybe, they might. I mean, they might not, but we have a couple that are worth probably like $100 or so, but like most of them aren't worth like a lot. So they're probably worth what we paid for them and nothing more. But what happens is whenever I don't want to get off on a tangent like we said that we do, but what happens is whenever a show comes out or whenever a character is revealed on screen, you'll see the price for that Funko Pop jump up. So like Daredevil, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Spider-Man No Way Home. Daredevil showed up in that movie, right? Well, what happened is if you go and look for the Daredevil TV shows, they made Funko Pops for those, which I wish I could get one. I've never been able to buy one because they actually made some really cool Funko Pops for that show. But if you go look at them, they jumped up by like 50 or $60. Like now people are
Dang,
selling them for like 112, 113.
tough.
Yeah, instead of like 30 or 40 or even 20, I saw some. But they made one of like the Punisher from that TV show. They made one of Matt Murdock, and then they made one of him in his Daredevil costume. And I think they made one of him where his helmet's cracked, like in the second season. They made a
Hmm.
Wilson Fisk one. And then around season 3, they stopped making them because that's kind of when Disney was like, we're going to take those characters back now. And that, they canceled all the Netflix shows. So they kind of stopped making merchandise for them. But it's cool. I have a Luke Cage one from the Luke Cage show from his appearance in Jessica Jones. They made Jessica Jones Funko Pops too. So that's kind of cool. But anyways, that's my Funko Pop story. So but we'll
I don't think I realized how big it was until I bought you one. And I was like, oh snap! Like it's like they're like I was in Amazon and I'm looking on Amazon. There's like literally like whole like categories of Funko Pops that you can
yeah,
go to, and
man.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, they're crazy. There's this cool they've been making sets now too, like on Amazon. They've been doing a lot of Amazon exclusives where you can buy the event, the Avengers scene where they're in a circle, the
Oh,
popular one.
oh my gosh.
You can buy that in a Funko Pop and you buy it piece by piece. So you'll buy Hawkeye, you'll buy Black Widow, and then when you put them together, they all connect in that circle in that pose. And I'm like, I would love that. Like that would be so cool to have.
I have
I
to say
also
that
have
was one of the best scenes in cinema history for me.
they also made a Infinity Gauntlet. So, which
It's
is
like
awesome.
it like fits around your thumb.
It comes off. Yeah, it's so cool. They made an Infinity Gauntlet. I had to buy that, this was not as popular as I thought it would be because it's not life size, and I think the life size ones are what people
Do you
really want to
have a
buy.
life size? I thought you had a life size for some
No,
reason. No?
I don't really collect life size stuff. I don't know why. I don't know. I
You
just
prefer it
don't.
to be miniaturized?
I I don't know. Like I guess I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's all I need. Like for
Do
my
you
fandom.
remember when we were in college and I was gonna buy that life size like Darth Vader?
I
Well,
think so.
it wasn't really life size. It was a little bit smaller than life size, but it was
Yeah.
pretty big. I don't know why
I
I never bought
think
that. That would have
I
been an
think I do.
awesome bachelor pad thing. I know would have had to get rid of it now, but
Nah, you would have kept it around. You would put it in the bedroom right next to your wife's side of the
she wouldn't have let me do
bed. The dog side. No.
that.
Anyways, that's hilarious. Well, we're gonna move on here. So the first thing I want to talk about, that we wanted to talk about today, is the Hawkeye finale. Hawkeye finally ended last. Was it Thursday?
Finally ended like it was 13 episodes.
I know, right? It was only what 6 or 7.
Six episodes. Six
Yeah, it could have been
episodes.
longer. It actually, in my opinion, it
Should have
should have
been.
been
Yeah,
longer.
should have been
It should have
longer.
been 10. I would have taken 10 episodes.
Wait. Here's my question for you though. Do you think it should have been longer because it needed more episodes or because you wanted more episodes?
Needed.
Okay.
Oh, it's a mix of both. I could have done with I've been saying on the show for the last couple of weeks, I think it deserves a second season.
Yeah.
Is what I think it deserves. I know I didn't know this ahead of time, but I guess they announced it as a mini series. So they kind of from the beginning said, "Hey, this is a mini series. There's probably not going
Oh
to be more
wow.
seasons." I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But or a limited series. But I'm like, it feels like you should give it a second season. You know, it just kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like Loki did. Which Loki, I was kind of more surprised that Loki got a second season and not like WandaVision. You know, I don't know. That was kind of weird. Um anyways, well let's talk about the finale real fast. It dropped what, Wednesday or Thursday, I think,
Yeah,
of
Wednesday,
last
I
week.
think.
Did you watch it immediately? Like the next
No,
day?
no. My wife said it was on there, and I was like, "No, it's not," because we had talked about it, and you said like I think you said it was probably like Christmas Eve or something like that.
Mhm.
And then and then I saw it the next day. I was like, "Oh, let's go ahead and watch it." And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting.
I
Interesting.
felt like I was super late to the game when I watched it cuz it was Sunday, but I had seen so many articles about it like between when it was released and Sunday. I was like, I got to watch this show, man. But anyways, we can go over I'll go over I guess what the episode was about. So it's kind of the culmination of the series. You're seeing Hawkeye.
Spoiler
Um,
warning.
yeah, spoiler warning for Hawkeye and the entire show. So we're gonna talk about the
Can
characters
I
and
just say
everything.
sorry? If you haven't seen No Way Home yet, you should stay off the internet. Like, don't be on the internet at all. Like, you can't be
Yeah.
on the internet if you haven't seen No Way Home. I'm just sorry, you just can't.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with Marvel when they're like, "Hey guys, don't spoil the movie for anybody," and they go on like they did that for No Way Home. They did that for Endgame too. Like they went on this huge like campaign of like, you know, like, "Hey, don't spoil the movie," and it was like for a week after it went out. You know, after that they're like, "Okay," and I'm kind of like, that's not your responsibility. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, people should just stay off the internet. You know,
Yeah.
until if they're gonna see it and they know when the movie comes out, like they should just try to stay off the internet or try not to.
Especially for, like, a seismic event like Endgame. It's like,
Hmm.
just don't go on the like, if you know you really wanna see it and you care about what happens and you don't wanna be, like, spoiled about it, just
Hmm.
stay off the internet for a couple days until you get the chance to go see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got spoiled on the end game scene where Iron Man died.
Oh, man.
I did.
That's
It was
tough.
I did. It was a GIF. It was one of those things where, and I didn't see Endgame either for a while. Like that movie, I was surprised how late I saw that movie. I think I saw it 2 weeks after it had been
Mm.
released. So I saw it for being a Marvel fan. I saw it quite a while after. Um, and it was like a GIF or something of, I don't know. I forget what the GIF was about, but it was one of those things where like it turned into like Iron Man, and it was Iron Man like snapping, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is this?" I think I don't remember what it was, but I shouldn't have watched it because it said something about Endgame spoilers, and I like clicked on it anyways, and I was like, because I was thinking it was going to be a joke,
It's
and I,
okay, it's okay.
you know,
I got, the Flash finale when, season about Mega Flash, what was his name?
Mega Flash.
No,
Which one?
Mecha, like, he was like a big, like, shiny robot looking dude, and he was, like, actually
Oh,
Barry from a different, I guess, universe
are you talking about
or a different Earth.
Savitar?
Savitar, there it is, Savitar.
Yeah.
I got the reveal to that being, Harrison Wells, that got spoiled for me on YouTube because I was like, "Dang, really like this song," and I, like, just looked up the song, and then I was reading the comments, and someone just completely let the whole thing go. I was so
Wow.
upset.
Was it? Wait, I thought it was Barry from another timeline.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
But
oh, so
Harrison
that's
Wells was the one who was actually Iris. He, like, turned into Iris, and then he got
oh, that's right.
stabbed.
That's right. Okay,
That was
that's
a
what
good
you're
season,
referring
honestly. I
to.
thought that was a good season.
That yeah, it was okay. I think the idea that it was Barry, evil Barry, kind of I was like, eh. But I liked, but that whole scene where Harrison Wells sacrificed himself for Iris was kind of crazy. I thought that
Yeah,
was insane.
yeah.
So I
I guess it's hard to say any CW show has a really good, like, complete season. I guess I think the idea of, like, them trying to stop it and, like, each episode they're figuring out they can't stop it was
mhm.
to me was like I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." Anyway, sorry, we're
I mean,
getting off track again.
season one of Arrow and season one of Flash, I think those are probably the best ones, to be honest. If you watch season one, Arrow is amazing. I think I've watched season 1 twice. That's the only season I've ever watched because it was just a well done. It was a well done season. It was very well done. And then they decided to kind of go different routes from there on out. And then the same thing with the Flash. Season 1 Flash was great. I would probably watch season 1 again if I thought about it. Because that build up to Harrison Wells was like really good. But then those shows get cheesy as they go on, because they run out of ideas and they're just kind of like, let's do this, and then they do things to the characters that don't make sense. Like they go through the same emotional problem more than once in a
Yeah,
season, and you're like,
yeah.
they're like, what? I don't understand. Anyways,
Or they have to relearn lessons that you thought they already learned.
yeah, DC's like creeping in as we're trying to talk about Marvel.
Hawkeye,
Anyways.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye. So, anyways, what the show is about, if you guys haven't watched it and are wanting to hear this review, it's essentially about Hawkeye who finds out that he sees that someone has stolen the Ronin suit, which we find out is Kate Bishop, which she wore it to stop some people at an art gallery or an art auction. And she was stopping some people from stealing Avengers stuff. And so she grabbed that suit to hide her identity. And what ended up happening is that was the Ronin suit. And so Hawkeye's like, well, I got to take care of this. And it ends up being a kind of like a 6-episode thing where Hawkeye is trying to get the Ronin suit and then stop all the bad guys that are happening, all the bad things that are happening because of the Ronin suit and other things going on. Kate Bishop kind of causes some of the problems, and he has to save her and all that stuff. But anyways, long story short, he's trying to do that and get home in time for Christmas. So, which is kind of an emotional part of the story. But anyways, what we found out in the last episode was there was a reveal that Kingpin who was kind of pulling the strings behind the Daredevil Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, was kind of pulling the strings behind what Kate Bishop's mom was doing. I'm kind of skipping ahead, so it may not make a lot of sense for you people who haven't watched. But anyways, we find out that that's kind of what's happened. And so now that's where the finale picks up. And so anyways, Jonathan, what did you think of the finale overall?
I thought it was good. I mean, I don't know. I was very mixed about it. I appreciated the fight between Kate Bishop and Kingpin. I was glad that they didn't try to weaken him so that she could seem like she was really strong, because he seemed like he was like an unmovable truck that was just going to keep coming at you. So that was cool. And he basically ragdolled her. She got lucky at the very end, which should have happened. Is like if she was going to beat him anyway, it had to be some lucky kind of coincidence. A little disappointed in the final fight. Just all of them in general. Like the big melee, it didn't feel, I don't know, like anything special. But I guess I've become accustomed to expecting more because it's Marvel. Because if we were just like detaching that from Marvel, it was a pretty good show. It was like really, really good. But because it's Marvel, I think we expect a bit more from them. So it was okay. It was okay. That's probably where I stay. It was okay.
I thought there was a lot going on, and they tried to wrap it up in the last episode, and it was just kind of like too much.
Too many strings. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why I think they could have used 10 episodes. I've seen some limited series. Like I think Defenders was 8, if I remember correctly. It was 6, or it could have been 6, but I thought it was 8. But I've seen some shows that have gone 8 episodes. Even if it would have had 8, that would have been a little bit better. I thought the idea that the big bad was Kingpin, as much as I love Kingpin, was kind of like, oh, he's the bad guy, like, so you're making him the bad guy, like all of a sudden. I was kind of like, well, that it would have been better if Hawkeye had his own person in the show that was pulling the strings or something, and maybe Kingpin is, he's not going to fight Kingpin in the show, but we're setting him up for something else. Like that's I would have rather that than like, hey, he's the actual bad guy, because it the whole time I was thinking like, I don't know, I think that was kind of bothering me. I don't really know how to put it into words today. Yeah, it kind of just
it kind of felt like they wanted the focus of the show not to be on a villain, but more just to be on Hawkeye and Kate, which was cool, because I actually appreciate that's probably the part of the show that I appreciated the most. but they were like, "Hey, we got to have somebody that's like
Mhm.
like can like I don't know be a big of enough threat." And then they're like, "Oh well, we got Daredevil. We're gonna bring him in as Spider-Man. So why don't we just throw Kingpin in there?" That's how it kind of felt. Kind of felt like last minute someone was just like, "Let's
Mhm.
just put Kingpin in there." Because I did appreciate seeing him in the show for sure, and knowing that he's in the Marvel universe is even more awesome. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it felt like too many strings trying to be
Mhm.
resolved all at once, and then the resolutions didn't all feel
Yeah.
like they complete the story. Like when
Yeah.
Echo when the guy kills himself, or does he kill himself, or does she kill him, or does he like indirectly get killed somehow?
Are you talking about Kazi?
Yeah.
Man, I don't remember. I should have rewatched the episode before we did this because I don't remember. Um. Oh, yes, I remember now. She killed him in defense. Is kind of how it
Okay.
happened because he was going at her with the knife, and she turned his hand because he was going to stab her. She turned his hand, and he stabbed himself. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it was like an indirect. Basically, he killed himself.
yeah.
Yeah, that felt kind of weak to me. And the fact that she
Mhm.
wasn't mad at him also felt kind of weak to me. I was just like,
Mhm.
he killed your father. Like, he literally set your father
Mhm.
up to die. You can
Yeah.
blame it on Kingpin as much as you want to, but her father trusted him, and he
Yeah.
like. But my wife was trying to convince me that, oh, she's in love with him. She's in love with him. I was like, that doesn't matter. Like, you killed my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I thought Yelena didn't need to be in the show. I didn't.
Really?
It felt like filler to me
Okay. Okay.
because if you think about when she showed up, it was later in the show. She doesn't really have very many scenes at all, and she's kind of just there so Kate Bishop can fight Kingpin. That's kind of
Yeah.
whereas
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have much rather seen a Hawkeye versus Kingpin matchup.
Agreed.
We didn't even see Hawkeye fight Kingpin. I was watching a review and somebody mentioned that and I was like, yeah, I would have totally loved that. Or I would have liked the roles switched because we kind of saw Kate fight um Yelena, but the only thing I didn't like about Yelena is that they Kate didn't take her killing Hawkeye very seriously at all.
At all.
like
Yeah.
like I was kind of like, why aren't you, like, there needs to be, like, she's literally going to kill him as much as she's joking around. Like, she keeps saying, I'm going to kill him, dead face. I'm gonna kill him, and then we can go hang out or do whatever. And I'm like that should be for someone who's like gonna kill your hero. That should, she I appreciated her coming quick at the defense in the first time like she showed up, but I was just kind of like, there needs to be some more
Urgency.
tension there and urgency, yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot more.
I get that.
um I mean, I guess maybe she thought, well, Hawkeye can handle himself, but I did
I don't.
appreciate the way that they showed him being a good fighter. I
Yeah.
like that.
That's what I was about to say. I just I kept thinking like when her and Yelena were like walking towards trying to go to get Hawkeye, I was just like,
Hmm.
there's no way that Kate should be able to even hang with Yelena because she's literally a top tier assassin. Like she's been doing
Yeah.
this her whole life. So it
Yeah.
made more sense to me for Yelena to have to fight Hawkeye because they seem more on the same level at least as
Hmm.
far as combat goes. But I didn't think she was gonna be able to beat Kingpin either. So I was kind of like, I don't know who she's gonna fight.
Hmm.
But then she ends up fighting Kingpin. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to say
Mhm.
this. I actually do disagree with you. I actually love Yelena in this show. But I agree that like she came in too late to matter. But I like
Mhm.
that they were trying to reconnect the Black Widow storyline to the
Mhm.
try to make it a key part of the show. But it's just like there was just too many things you were trying to throw at us
Mhm.
to make us care about.
Yeah.
So it was like harder for me to like
I
really
guess
gravitate to that.
I just would have rather had that later and let the focus be on developing a villain or developing the story a little bit more in
That's fair.
Hawkeye.
That's fair.
Because they could have done that with the time they used on her. They could have developed, they kind of tried to make it about Kate, and it's about Hawkeye, and he's kind of facing his demons in a sense of like regret for Black Widow, which that part should be there,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It just for me it didn't hit very hard at all. I was just kind of like, oh
Yeah.
well, like it was okay, and the fight that they had was kind of boring. Like
Yeah,
it
no,
wasn't,
yeah, I
you know,
agree.
because
I
because
was pretty upset.
Hawkeye was like heavily pulling his punches
Yeah.
because he was just like, I'm not going to fight you because there's no point in fighting you. And I was just kind of, it for me, it was a little bit of a letdown. And I was like, I would have much rather have this in like a different show or a movie, where she comes in out of nowhere but I was like, in this, it just seemed a little, the only I liked Yelena in the show. I like her acting. I like her character. I just didn't find it. I felt like with the time they spent on her, they could have used it. They could have better used it elsewhere.
Hmm.
They could have, and I'm not saying this because I love Kingpin, but they should, in my opinion, they should have revealed Kingpin a little bit earlier to
Yeah.
build his gravitas a little bit. Because if you think about it, think about someone who's never watched Daredevil. Like this dude just came out of nowhere. Nothing like this person came out of nowhere who you've never heard of. You just know he's a bad guy. He has, to your knowledge, he has no he has no motivation whatsoever to do what he's doing. You're just like, okay, he's just, it almost seems as if he's a uh just an just like an archetype crime boss. Like he's just kind of your run of the mill. They're like, it's the Kingpin, and that's all like, as somebody who's never watched Hawk, and there's lots of people who watch that show who probably have not seen Daredevil. I would be
Hmm.
surprised if I know there were lots of people who were, because once they heard Kingpin's going to be in it, they probably flocked to it to watch it. But to those people who are like, who is this guy? Okay, he's her uncle in some way, and he may have killed her father, but that gives Echo a reason to not like him, but not really anybody else. You just know he's
Yeah.
like a crime boss. So that kind of was
Oh yeah,
weird.
I get
You
you.
know, but anyway, so
I
that
get you.
I feel like they could have built him up a little bit more, and Yelena just kind of felt like an unnecessary person in the series. I mean, and it also felt like to me, it felt like a quick way to get rid of that string. I guess they were like, well, she's gonna fight Clint, so we'll just put her in. I feel like they didn't know where to put her, so they put her in Hawkeye.
Mm.
I don't know.
I I agree. I agree with a lot what you said. I think that all stems from like the story trying to be about too much and not having enough time to tell all of it. Like you said,
Hmm.
like if this had been like a 10 episode series, maybe even a 12, I
Hmm.
think we would have got a much better product as far as all the different storylines they were trying to connect. Like it was about it was about Clint's family, but it was also about Clint, about Ronan, also about Black Widow, also about Kingpin, also about Kate, but also about Kate's
Hmm.
mom, also about Kate's dad, also about
Hmm.
Echo, but also about Echo's dad, also about this gang, also about this guy and his girlfriend. Remember
Hmm.
the the Russian guy?
Yeah.
He's like, thanks. It really, you're
Your
that was
advice,
so funny. He was
that
like,
was
thanks,
really
your
funny.
advice really helped. And she's like beating him up.
And he's like, I
Oh,
just
that was
came to
great.
say. She was like, "What's up with the gun?" Then, and he was like, I just came to say thank you." And she kicks him. I thought he was like, "We went and saw Maroon 5 instead." I was like, "That's hilarious." I did love them about the show. I thought they were hilarious, and they
Yeah.
were a great kind of adversary to Hawkeye.
Mhm.
Um, Things I liked about the show overall, I would say I really liked Kate Bishop and him.
Yeah.
Kate Bishop made the character really likable.
Yeah.
Or not Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld really made the character likable and
Yeah.
enjoyable.
See, guys,
Um,
we like women in superheroes in action movies.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I thought she was great. I really enjoyed her, and I liked Hawkeye's connection with her. Again, that's why I want a season 2, is because I'd love to see more of that. And the end of the show kind of made that ambiguous too, on whether there would be a season 2, or whether there would be, or because she was trying to think of a name, and he was like, I've got an idea. And it was like, oh, is he gonna like give her the Hawkeye mantle? Well, I don't know if he is, because it didn't sound like he was gonna retire, right? It didn't
Yeah, it
seem like
didn't.
he
It
was.
didn't.
It didn't feel like, oh, he's gonna retire. It kind of felt like maybe that's like the plan going forward, but we're still gonna
Yeah.
see more of him.
Well,
Um,
I mean, the whole story she had been telling him the whole time she'd been telling him like he needs to work on his identity, that he's more of a role model than just
mhm.
an action figure. And so it seemed like the whole story was prompting him to come out of retirement and go back into being a superhero again.
Yeah.
So I was very confused at the end. about like
Hmm.
her trying to pick a name, and I'm like, so is he
Hmm.
sticking around or is he leaving? Or so it, I agree we
Hmm.
need a season 2, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Do
we're
you
gonna get one.
know? Do you know what? Do you know what was up with the watch? Because we didn't get a
No,
lot. We didn't get any information about the watch either.
but
Um,
it seems like his wife is like she used to work for Shield or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah. I read something by the way. You've watched all of Agents of Shield,
I
so
have.
I have not seen the last couple episodes. Was there any kind of? I read something about like how that's an Easter egg for Agents of Shield, or
I don't
that's like a
remember.
connection.
Honestly, I do not. I do not remember
Okay.
any. I'm sure if I saw the Easter egg and someone like pointed out in the show, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that episode. This is what happened. But
Hmm.
no, I don't.
I'll try to figure it out later. But I was thinking I was like I didn't really see anything that said Agents of Shield to me.
Yeah,
I just kind of saw like, okay, she was a part of Shield at one time, so maybe she was an agent. But because I forgot, but they were looking for that watch at the very first episode.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they were
I
looking for
forgot
that.
too.
So what's the significance to that watch?
Yeah.
But we might see more of that. I keep saying, I know that Hawkeye's going to be in the Moon Knight series, so maybe we'll get something from there. Um, Also, I mean, he might show up in Echo. Um, how did you feel about where they left off Echo's character, by the way?
Killing Kingpin.
Hmm.
Before we get there, I hated how they dressed Kingpin. I thought it was disgraceful. I thought it was the worst thing they could have possibly done, and it makes it even
Hmm.
worse thinking about what you just said about the people who hadn't seen Daredevil, don't know who Kingpin is, and just see this guy like this Papa Bear in a Hawaiian shirt in a like white
Yeah.
suit. It looks so stupid, and I was just like, why did you
Mhm.
dress him like that? I love the cane. The cane was great, but just
I
give
like the
him
cane as
the
well.
suit and everything. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Yeah, my only thought, like I said, my only thought to that was if you watch the end of season 3 of Daredevil, if I remember correctly, and spoilers for that, which just because I don't know, there might be people who haven't watched the show. But anyways, in this at the end of season 3, I'm pretty sure Matt Murdock shuts down like everything, doesn't he? He shuts down like his connections to money. He
Well,
shuts
but
down
in the
his.
story though, he's working with Kate's mom,
Yes,
and it
he
says that
is.
she owes him a huge debt, and he's been helping her get more money. So like, he can't afford a button up shirt. Like, what is this?
That's true. That's a good point. I don't know. I mean, that was my only thought though. Is like maybe he doesn't have as much money because he's having to pay the people who work for him. He's having to do, he's starting from the beginning. So maybe he's not as high society as he was in the show, right? Because in the show, I
Maybe.
mean, he had but what was weird is I don't know if you caught this. Did you caught what she flicked at the end?
No, what was it? I didn't see what it was.
She what she flicked was his cufflinks. His
Oh,
dad's cufflinks from Daredevil. Like I looked and I saw it turn and I was like, those are his cufflinks. Like those are the cufflinks from Marvel's from the Daredevil show. And those are his. So I'm like, is it the same character? Because they wouldn't have done that on purpose, right?
yeah,
But it seems like okay, it's supposed to be the same character. But I agree with you. I don't like the way they dressed him up. He would not dress up like that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And
he
that's why I was
wouldn't.
thinking. Like, that's
Hmm.
why I was saying like he can't afford to buy a button-up T-shirt because like in the underworld, your image is everything. Like you
Yeah.
can't look like you're a coward. You can't look like you're scared. You can't look like you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing. You have
You
to
know that.
always
Mhm.
present power to other people.
That could have been just like the suit that they dressed him in that one time because when we saw him, if I remember correctly, when we saw him in the first picture, he didn't dress up like that. I thought he dressed up fine. Like
Yeah, I think so.
when he was meeting Kate's mom, it
Hmm.
wasn't as I prefer the classic black and like the blue shirt he had or whatever,
Hmm.
with the cufflinks. And so like I preferred that look, but he was wearing a white uh sport coat and then he had like a normal shirt on, which was fine. But yeah, I didn't like the Hawaiian shirt and the hat,
It
which
looked
they
bad. It just looked bad. Like
yeah.
it didn't look like it matched. I was just like, he
Hmm.
doesn't look good.
I read something like they were trying to make that more comic book because that's like what he looks like in the comic books, I guess, in some iterations. And I was like, I they should have. That's one of those cases where the movies did it better or the shows did it better.
If that is the
Um,
case. I've always
yeah.
seen him in like he always to me seemed like he dressed like a pimp. Like
Hmm.
he had like the open collar, he had the gold chains on, he had the cane, he had a huge
Hmm.
frame. I mean, he still looked like he was a thug. Like he looked like he was like a mob boss. That's what he looked like.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
don't need to see him in a suit and tie. I'm just saying, like, if
Hmm.
you're gonna put him in anything, like at least give him not a
Hmm.
Hawaiian shirt. I just don't like the Hawaiian
Yeah.
shirt.
Well, and what Daredevil did to him was they made him more of a white collar criminal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who a white collar criminal who has ties to the underground. So
Hmm.
like he's a
But
white
distant
collar.
ties. Yeah,
Yeah, he's made himself look like a white collar guy, but but he's been built upon all of the seedy criminal aspects, that are going on. So I think, so my that was my only thought when you told me that, was like, well, maybe he's, because I think, in my opinion, where they're showing him, my wife made an excellent observation as well. Um, but where they're showing him, he looks as if he's starting out new. Like he's not as rich as the Kingpin as we used to see. But my wife was like, the other thing she said, that was kind of unbelievable that he fought Kate, and I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, in the show he would never have fought her. He would have had somebody sent out to kill her. Like he would have not gone out of his way to
yeah,
directly fight her and I was like, yeah, unless it was personal, right? Like if it's a personal thing, he would
yeah.
go and do it
Doing
himself.
some, yeah,
Like he would go and kill Echo is what he would do. He would go, because he knows her, it's his niece or whatever, or adopted niece, and he would go and kill her himself. Because that's what we saw in the show too, right? Like whenever he killed Ben Urich, that was something that was personal to him, and he went and directly killed him. Um, Whenever he killed the guy with the car door, that guy directly insulted the date that he was on, and
yeah,
the date he was with, so
yeah.
he took it
That easily
personally.
could have been one of those moments where he's just like, "Hey, get this guy out and kill him," you know.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
like
So
literally himself did it. Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
so she was kind of like, why did he do that? Because it's not really a personal thing. Like Kate's mom doesn't really have a relationship to him, other than like she owes
Business.
him money.
Yeah.
And so that just seems like something he would send. So my thought on that was, well, he really must just not have a lot of people to work for him at the moment. He must not have people he feels are competent enough to go out and kill people. You know what I mean? Like whereas when he had lots of resources and he was very high society, he could have done that. So I'm going back and forth on that. Um, what did you think
Well,
about him?
a good
Go ahead.
question would be, um, no, I guess it's not a really great question, but I was gonna say, like, what timeline does this bring Kingpin into? Like, is this at the start of his empire, or is this like post Daredevil already? But it has to
Hmm.
be post Daredevil because in Daredevil they talk about the Avengers and them coming and
Hmm.
um the aliens and everything like that. So it has to be post Daredevil. So
I
I
would
guess it,
assume so. Yeah.
yeah.
But my thought is like he's starting his empire again.
Again,
Is
that's fair. That's
that's
fair.
kind
I
of what
just
I keep going back to.
get him a white T-shirt. Come on now, like anything but what he was wearing would have been better. You
I'm fine
know,
with that. Yeah.
a clown suit would have been better
They
than
actually
what he was
to
wearing.
be honest, they kind of made that a point to his character that he was not going to dress ridiculously because he didn't want to dress poor
Yeah,
because he has bad memories of when he was poor. You know what I mean?
exactly,
So
exactly.
he doesn't want to be seen as that. He doesn't want to be seen as weak or lesser
Yeah.
anymore. It's kind of what his. If you watch the show, that's kind of the vibe you get from his character. So I thought Vincent D'Onofrio acted very well. I love
Oh
that he
yeah, he
sound
did a
he
great job. He did
yeah
a great job.
he sounded the same as well. And you got to see that rage. What did you think of him? Kind of, it seems like they gave him superpowers a little bit. It seems like, you know what I mean? Like it seems like they gave him the Kingpin comics guy that we know,
Powers,
like someone
yeah,
who's really strong and
and indestructible,
yeah,
basically.
which he's not really known for being superhuman, right? He's
Yeah,
not like superhuman. He's just kind of like supposed to be a really strong dude, I
yeah.
guess. I don't
Well,
really know how to describe it.
his frame obviously allows him to absorb more damage than most people can. But
Yeah,
also, like, if you ever see in the comics where he takes his jackets off or something like that, he's actually really ripped because he works out a ton.
yeah,
Um, I was saying, I said it to my wife, and I was like, it's weird that he's like, it seems like he has superpowers, but like, I know he doesn't. And then
yeah.
I was remembering that in the Daredevil show, he had the suits that protected him. and you
Mhm.
basically made him indestructible. So I was thinking maybe that was what he had on, like that jacket he had on was like
Mhm.
that bulletproof kind of material, so he could be a little bit stronger.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I read an article about that, but it didn't explain everything. Like, it doesn't explain him ripping the car door off, right?
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
doesn't explain that part. So my thought was, well, we never really had a scenario in Daredevil where he did that. We have the car door scene. And then he did have rageful strength, where like whenever you'd see him beat up Daredevil, he would just like pummel him, like, so I mean, like, so we know he's strong, so I was like, I guess it's not impossible to think that he's strong enough to do that. They, if you think about it, they didn't really up his power level a whole lot, just like a little bit, because in
yeah.
the show we just were never given a scenario where
Where
he
he
had
had to, yeah,
where he had to take a car door off or anything. We know that jail could hold him. He couldn't obviously just break out of prison.
yeah.
Which, would you say that's accurate to the character? He's not like strong enough to like
Oh
pull
no,
open
no,
bars,
he
right?
definitely could do that. He definitely should be able to do that. If I remember correctly, at least, in the ones that in the iterations of Kingpin that I've seen, he's
Mhm.
always been close to superhuman strength. Like
Oh, okay.
it's never been like directly like said, oh, he has superhuman strength,
Mhm.
but you see his display of strength throughout the comics, and he seems to almost superhuman. Like he's like he reminds me of a Captain America, basically.
Do you want that?
Not really, only because the way Vincent D'Onofrio acted as Kingpin in the Daredevil series, it showed that he didn't need that, and
Yeah,
that's what I
that's
thought
what I
was
was gonna say.
impressive. So I'm okay with
Mhm.
him not doing that, but
Mhm.
I would like an explanation to how he can do that, because
I
that seemed
agree.
very
Mhm.
unhuman-like to just rip a card off like it was like
Yeah.
butter.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's pretty obvious we're gonna see him again. I don't think he just died. I think that's the whole reason. I think that's the whole reason they left it
Maybe it
ambiguous.
was an LMD. Maybe that's why he dressed so badly.
A life model decoy. Um, yeah, Agents of Shield. No, I don't think that's gonna happen. Or if he got shot, if she shot him, for instance, if he has his clothes on that we're talking about, that Potter made for him, if he had those on, well, then he could withstand a bullet because they
Yeah.
were made to be bulletproof, and knife proof is what they were made for. So I mean, I think that he could withstand it if she shot him like in the heart or something. But I don't know. I just also, it would be a waste, right? Wouldn't that be a waste to bring his character back? But not only to bring his character back, but to bring his character back for one episode,
And they kill
like
him.
like one episode, and then they have Daredevil coming too, right? So
Yeah.
we already have Daredevil, so we know Daredevil's coming. But we're gonna the one of the best things about the Daredevil show, we're just gonna use it for one episode and kill him off. That
Yeah.
doesn't really seem like smart.
That's what I was thinking too. I was disappointed that that was even the final scene. I was kind of hoping it was going to be over after she like had him
Hmm.
against the wall and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I would love to see him in the next Spider-Man movie. That would be awesome if he was like the main antagonist for the next Spider-Man movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That would be
Plus
amazing.
that would give him time to build his empire back
Yeah,
up.
back up.
Because I would like to see the Kingpin that we had in the show. I think most people would.
Yeah,
I think if you polled people, I think they would arguably, most likely majority of them would say, yeah, we want him to be in the show. So, that's what I think anyways. I just think that he's a better fit. Um my only concern is, like, obviously Disney and Disney Plus are not going to let us have the exact same that we had before, because that show was a lot darker,
yeah,
and it was more violent, there was more blood, but the characters themselves could stay the same without having, you know what I mean? There's a
hmm
lot of stuff you could do off camera. The sad thing is you're not going to be able to see Vincent D'Onofrio probably pull out the rage, as much rage as he had, as far as like actually taking somebody's head off, and some of the other things we saw. Choking someone to death, like like, you're probably not going to see that, but you can still see him, pummel someone with his fists,
or
or
lose his temper.
lose his temper. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio handles that kind of emotional aspect of him really well. I think that's what a lot of people like, right? Is how he can just flip all of a sudden. He's just very angry, and then after his anger comes out, he'll be very calm, and just like that kind of like almost insanity a little bit that he has, like that mental side of it. So I'm hoping for more of that. But the way that they did him in Hawkeye, I was kind of I was kind of half and half. I was like, I like that he's here, but at the same time, I don't know if I liked how they changed his character. I'm still confused on that because they haven't explained at all.
Yeah.
So that's probably more what I'm waiting for, is to see, okay, has he always been this way? Is this the same Daredevil we got from? Is this the same Kingpin we got from Daredevil, or is it different? All that kind of stuff. So those questions are waiting to be answered. Hopefully, we'll get something on them, but we'll see.
I mean, there is an Echo show coming out, so you would imagine that he would be a feature part, or at least a part of the Echo show.
Yeah,
Kingpin, at least.
yeah. I think I heard that Daredevil is rumored to be in that as well. Which I'm fine
Why are
with
we
that.
getting an Echo show? Who wants an Echo show? Who was like, you know what superhero I haven't seen in a TV show before? Echo. That's what I want. Like,
Well, I found
who
out.
is participating in these board meetings that are making these decisions for us? I don't understand.
Well, I found out Kevin Feige. There was an article that went out a little bit ago, and he said that he wanted to make the Marvel universe more women have more women than men in it. And I was like, he does, and I was like, so that's why they're focusing on these like lower tiered like
Superheroes, like, yeah,
superheroes probably so much. And so I was kind of like, you shouldn't do that just for the sake, just for the sake of it.
yeah,
That's not going to be an interesting storytelling thing, because you're going to just be pushing these people to the forefront without actually giving good stories. So I don't know about
yeah,
Echo. I'm not really looking forward to that show because I thought her character was okay. There's nothing
yeah,
that really makes me think I want to watch an Echo show, and I don't know
yeah.
how many people like Hawkeye was the lowest watched Marvel show that they've put out, and
Makes
I'm
sense.
like, I don't know how many people were like, "Oh, Echo's awesome." Like, I feel like it's probably going to have even less
People
of,
watching it.
yeah, unless they really build it up, right? Unless they're really like pushing the boundaries. If Daredevil and Kingpin show up in it and they're actually main characters, you might get more people watching, but it won't be for Echo herself,
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I as I've always said, and I'll continue to say, I don't really care about genders in movies. I just want a solid movie.
Hmm.
But the problem with females is, at least so far, we haven't seen a lot of really good action female. Like, you can think of like one or four or five, but like
Hmm.
it they don't know how to unhandcuff themselves to this gender sort of deal where it's just like it's all about this person being a woman and her struggles and
Hmm.
stuff like that. It's like there's a larger story you can tell than just that. Like, um, for instance,
Hmm.
anybody who likes just a flat out just a really good action movie. I just saw this movie on Netflix called Kate last night. It was actually really, really good. It was really surprised. I was very surprised. I thought it was gonna be another like I don't know if you've seen Gunpowder Milkshake,
I have
but that
not.
was a really bad movie. A really, really like it was everything that we talk about of horror movie would be like with a bunch of
Hmm.
women. That's what it
Hmm.
is. Like, if you wanted to know like why, like what is like the epitome of what people think about when they think about women in action movies, is that. That's Gunpowder Milkshake. Is exactly what it is. It's every like female rights moment and like just really bad choreography and oh my gosh. Oh, anyway, um, but in the movie
Hmm.
Kate, it's like less about that she's a girl, but more about that she's an assassin.
Hmm.
That's kind of the whole movie is based around her being this assassin character,
Hmm.
and like she's poisoned, and now she has to find out who poisoned her, and she's on this mission to go kill them. Then there's a twist at the end, and it's like it's nothing groundbreaking or like incredible. It's probably like in what you would think would probably be like you probably compared to like John Wick, where it's like a really bad story, but the fight scenes are good.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that's the
Yeah.
kind of things that people want to see. Like, we want to see just like the action in it. We want to see a compelling story, and we
Hmm.
want it to be more than just about your identity, but more like a larger story than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at one of the great examples is like the 80s and the 90s, there were a lot of female leads who led
Hmm.
action movies. Like if you look at, the Alien franchise, if you look at Terminator, there was a lot, you had Sarah Connor in the Terminator ones. I forget what her name is in the Alien franchise, but I know the actress who played her. But what was interesting is those movies you didn't really question why it was a woman. That was just who that was who was put in those
Yeah,
circumstances, right?
yeah.
um and so I think and the other thing too is when you're replacing male with female characters, it doesn't always feel the same, especially when it's the original, right? When it's like, I think that's actually what Hawkeye's doing really well, is that they've made you like the character before she was Hawkeye, and there's a reverence to
But she has
Hawkeye.
to the character. Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like it doesn't feel like she's necessarily replacing him. It feels like she knows that she wants to aspire to be someone like that. And that's more interesting than I'm the new Hawkeye, move over, Clint, like, that type of thing. So I'd rather that happen. And I think to give them credit, I think it is kind of hard to do that with comic books because the original characters are who people are drawn to so much. Like even with Black Widow, right? Like if Yelena is going to be the new Black Widow, maybe she's going to be the White Widow. I've heard her called. I don't know if that's actually what her name's going to be,
yeah.
but if it's going to be, people are going to have a hard time because they love Scarlett Johansson in that role so much, and she did such a great job as Black Widow. It's going to be hard to see somebody else. I actually like Yelena. I didn't think when I watched the trailers for Black Widow, I was like, I'm probably not going to like her very much. And I ended up did liking her a lot. I actually liked her more than her dad. I didn't like their dad at all in that movie. He just, because he was there for comedic effect, and he just ruined all the important parts of the movie for me. But I like her character a lot. So I mean, there's certain, it's like they got the She-Hulk movie coming up, and I like the idea of She-Hulk. I think she's a cool character, but if they're just going to use her to replace the Hulk, that's not going to be as interesting either. So I'm hoping that they do justice to the characters and they do it right. But when you're just doing it for a women empowerment sake, it's hard to get around that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was trying to think of what is like the example of that, and I was thinking. Then I thought about it. Star Wars. Star Wars is a perfect example of doing it just for the empowerment of people, rather than for a good story. Like when
Oh, you
you,
mean like the newer trilogy?
yeah, when you do it for solely for empowerment reasons, you don't empower anyone. You actually depower people because then people go, well, this is bad and it's not good. So and then some people even people like people who some people become under the illusion that you just can't have a good female lead and stuff like that because these movies are so bad. But when you just do it
Mhm.
for the sake of a story, like we're just trying to tell a story, it doesn't matter about who's being empowered by it. We're trying to tell a story. That's usually more empowering for people because it's like
Mhm.
this wasn't the focus, but this became the brightest light in the movie.
Mhm.
Um, and with Star Wars, it felt a lot like they were like taking a crap on the old generation to push up this new generation of heroes, and it was like you guys haven't done anything to earn our respect except tell us that the old
Mhm.
people did a bad job. And it's like that's
Yeah.
not like we all saw the old trilogies. They did a terrific job with that. So you
Mhm.
can't tear this down. Like it's just impossible to tear down.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think, the thing is, if female leads would do what people want of them to embrace their femininity,
Yeah.
um, because I think there is a stigma. I mean, I think there is a stigma that like being a woman is bad. At least that's what the culture tells us.
Mhm.
Because you hear things like, "Oh, you throw like a girl," you're like this. So like the thing is, the media takes that as, "Oh, they're saying like that you can't measure up to a man." So like, yeah, you can measure up to a man. It's like that's not the point. Like the point is to be yourself and to
Yeah,
embrace
that you are
embrace
yourself.
who you are.
Mhm.
And usually those characters are more interesting when they embrace their femininity. Like for
Agreed.
instance, Black
That's a good
Widow
point.
again. Black Widow again. One of Black Widow's great powers, like in the comics, and they showed it a little bit in Avengers, was that she's seductive, right? Like that's
Mhm.
that's a part of her character. That's a part of why she was created, because she's a spy and she's an assassin. So she uses what she has. women are beautiful.
That's
Like if you
that's
have,
literally in her name, Black Widow. That's what a Black
yeah,
Widow does. It seduces its male and then it eats the male. Like that's
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
go
exactly. No, you're fine. No, you're totally good. No, you're right. That's a great point. I mean, I think that that's kind of, and what's weird is like there were people asking her about Iron Man 2, about how like she I think because Tony, they're like, well, Tony made a really bad remark. He said that he wanted one of her, and like as if she was an object, and I was just like, she's playing a role as a
ahead.
character who's supposed to be attractive and seductive, and the reason she's playing that is to get underneath and to find out what's really going on, right? The
Yeah.
whole point of her doing that in that movie is so she can find out more intel for Nick Fury, to find out what's going
Hmm.
on with Iron Man, so, and why he's dying in that movie. So I mean that, and that's what makes her character interesting, is that she's able to use that skill set, that part of her personality, and that's not all who she is, but that's what she turns on to become that spy. Is I'm going to use my beauty to entrap somebody, and that's really interesting. You know what I mean? That's a really interesting, for Echo, for instance. Show her using her disability to empower her. That's actually one thing that I'm really surprised they didn't show in Hawkeye, is that her disability is actually like Daredevil. That's what makes her. That's kind of what gives her power in a way,
Hmm.
right? Like she's apparently like, I didn't know this about the character, but she's actually like, um oh, the Taskmaster. She's actually like that Taskmaster, where whatever you do, she can basically copy it.
Hmm.
And it's because she feels vibrations through her fingers, and she can watch you do it. And so it's like, that's a really cool, like, interesting thing. But they didn't show that. They just made her deaf for the sake of it, and she doesn't have, her, she's an amputee. And I was just kind of like, I was hoping they were going to show her powers, but they never showed it once. So maybe she's going to get them in the Echo show, maybe.
Dang.
But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of like, well, see, she has a disability and she's powerful, and it's like, yeah, but show her overcoming that disability, right? Show her embracing that and using it to be better. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like that's kind of what you want to see, is people overcoming that.
Yeah.
um and they're kind of just like doing it for representation. And if you do that to a woman, if you're just like, well, there's no really reason why she has to be a woman, she's just a woman because a woman can be a superhero too, and it's like, that's not really a good reason to put a woman character in there. Sorry, I went on a rant there. So, but anyways, yeah, crazy stuff.
Point blank, our point in all this is we want more women-led movies. We just want them to be about more than just the fact that they're a woman.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
More story-driven
definitely.
than identity-driven.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But anyways, well, we should probably move on to the next topic. But oh, the last thing I want to say about Hawkeye, what did you think of that scene where her mom is like, "This is all your fault. Like, you need to learn how to take responsibility," or whatever.
It was
Remember
weird. I was kind of upset they made the mom the villain because I kind of was at the beginning of the show. I was
that?
like,
Hmm.
is she gonna turn out to be the villain? I was like, I really hope not.
Hmm.
And I was really convinced that it was Jack because he just looks so smarmy. And I was like, that would be a great twist if it was Jack and not a twist where it's like actually her mom.
So you
'Cause
read
no
the
one, no one
twist.
saw that coming.
You read the twist, and you were like, and I was like, I'd rather have a psych out twist where it's like, it's not her mom, it's Jack again. Like,
Yeah,
that would
it
be,
actually is Jack. Yeah, that's what I
yeah.
was hoping for. Cause like the scene where they're like sword fighting and he's like the actor does such a great job with playing this like under sarcasm, but like really on the surface polite kind of person. He plays it
Hmm.
so well, and I was hoping that's what they were going for. Is this like, who do you think it's gonna be? Who do you think it's gonna be? And then like at the last moment, drop the hat. It
Hmm.
actually is him, and then she has to fight Jack. That would have been
Hmm.
awesome. But my wife called it very early on. She's like, "Oh, the mom's evil," and I was like, no, she's not. Like, it's
I
Jack's
thought it
fault."
was too. I thought it was the mom as well. Yeah.
Because it seems
Uh,
so obvious. It just seems so obvious. Like we've seen this twist 100 times. So that's why I was
mhm.
like hoping they were going to do something different instead of like,
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's weird when everybody, because it's funny how like the original twist would have been like just to make it Jack, right? Like that would
yeah,
be the original. But then the thing is, now everybody's doing that thing where they're trying to make you think it's one person, but then it's actually somebody else.
Yeah.
So now the unoriginal thing is to be like, to do that, but then to be like, nope, it's the original person. Which is really funny. So that we're getting back to that in society. Anyways, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next thing here today. And Jonathan, real quick, Jonathan saw Matrix Resurrections, and so
I actually
Jonathan's
saw
gonna
all
go.
4.
Oh, you saw all 4. You
Yeah,
rewatched them?
I spent the week watching all 4 over again just to
Oh
refresh
wow.
myself on it.
Well, what did you
And
think of the newest one and how it fits in with the other 3?
so disappointing. Um, I don't think it's not worth watching. I'll say that much because the first half, the first, I won't. I would almost say that the 3/4 of the movie is pretty good. Like there's some interesting ideas that you could expound upon. There like it's so good because the whole this is I'm gonna give some spoiler warnings, okay? Because I want to get into what the movie is about.
Yeah, you sure can.
But there is a meta. There's like this movie's like really meta about itself, basically, and that's what the original was kind of trying to be subtly meta. Like it's like saying to you, the audience member, that the life you're living is all fake. All this is fake. What's real is what's in you. What's real is the things that you can't even touch. Like love is real. Love is real. Hope is real. You know, it's choice, your own choice, your choice to do what you want to do, your choice to make decisions is real. That's more real than the tangible things that we feel and touch outside. But this movie was kind of more like in your face meta. Like, so basically, Neo is back in the Matrix. After the third one, he kind of dies, but then they kind of like bring him back. The machines bring him back to life because they realize there's power in the one, and then they can use him to get more power from the human beings. It's a very convoluted plan, but that's not the point. My point is, the meta part is that they bring him back into the Matrix and they make him a video game designer, and he actually designs the Matrix as a video game.
Oh wow.
So the
Okay.
first 3 movies that he thought were his memories actually were a video game that he created that other people have played.
Oh wow.
So all throughout the movie, people are talking about the Matrix as a video game. And they're like, man, I really love this game. This is such an awesome game. It changed my life and stuff like that. And he's the one who designed the whole thing. Yeah, right?
That's a cool idea.
I was like, this is such a cool idea. And so
Yeah.
there is this awesome scene. One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, where he's sitting in the he gets called into the office by his boss. And his boss is actually the Mr. Smith guy, the new Mr. Smith. But they don't know it yet. And throughout the movie, he's been battling with this kind of like psychotic break that he has, where he's like thinking that the Matrix is real, and he actually participated in it. But as you saw in the trailer, his therapist is Barney from sorry, let me say his real name. His real name is not Barney. I keep calling him Barney because that's the only thing I know him.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Personally know him from is How I Met Your Mother. But yeah, NPH. Is trying to convince him that the Matrix is a fake, that never happened. It's all in your head. He's like, you have a very overactive imagination. And so in order for you to combat that, you need to take these blue pills. Keep taking these blue pills, and they're going to help you stay sane, basically. Because whenever he starts thinking too hard, his mind starts trying to basically gravitate back to the Matrix and show him his old memories. But the blue pills are keeping him like basically neutered. So anyway, he gets called into the office by his boss, who's supposed to be the new Mr. Smith. They don't know it yet, and he's basically like, hey, so I know we talked. I know you said you didn't want to do another Matrix, but the studio execs at Warner Brothers, they actually named out Warner Brothers. They said the studio execs at Warner Brothers said that they want to make a sequel to the trilogy, and then Neo says, wait a minute, I thought they couldn't do that. I thought we had veto power. And he says, well, you know how studio execs are. They're going to make this movie either way, with or without us. So you need to come and make up a new Matrix. And I was like, that is such a great line. This is so meta. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. That's extremely meta, yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy says, it's so crazy. We're going back to where it all started, back to the Matrix. And I'm like, wow, that was beautiful dialogue right there. Between them two, that was beautiful. If they had got the actual actor of Mr.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd have been beautiful. But anyway, there's another scene that follows that scene where basically they're in a room with a bunch of people, like a bunch of different game designers, and they're all
Mhm.
talking about, okay, what does the next Matrix need to be about? Like, what is it? What do the fans
Mhm.
appreciate about the original that we need to put into the next one? And they're
Mhm.
like, we need bullet time. We need more bullet time. And he's like,
More bullets.
yeah. And they're like tossing ideas. And one guy's like, I don't want to. One guy's like, I think the other one, the original trilogy, it was too complicated. I don't need I don't want a thesis or a syllabus and a highlighter to understand my movies. I just want mindless action. And so they're like all throwing out these like different like ideas, and it feels like they're taking the position of the fans who are trying to discuss
Mhm.
like what's the next movie going to be about. So
Mhm.
it's a really cool idea to have in the middle of this movie that's about like a fake reality and trying to
Mhm.
figure out what's real and what's not. And I was just like, wow, like
And
this is gonna be a really good
it
movie.
also makes the fake reality more fake.
Exactly,
Like the fact
exactly.
that it could be real, it makes it more.
And
Yeah.
that's what they don't do a good job of it, but they try to convince you, the audience member, that the trilogy was actually fake. It never actually happened. Like even the scenes in Zion, they have those scenes in the video game. And so
Oh
now you're
wow.
kind of going, so wait a minute, what actually happened? Like, is all this true? Is he actually the one, or is it like all it
Mhm.
fake?
Yeah.
Um,
But it's hard to do when you know that those movies existed, right?
yeah,
Like
yes, that's
it's.
probably the biggest barrier is that like
Mhm.
that's why I kept telling myself was like, no, I watched those movies, like it wasn't fake. I
Yeah.
know it wasn't fake. Um,
And you
so
saw the first movie, right? Where like he
yeah,
actually finally broke the Matrix and got out of
yeah.
it. So it's kind of like for me, well, as you were talking, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. As you were talking, I was thinking that sounds really cool, but it would be hard to believe because I watched that first movie. Like I've only seen the first one, by the way. I have
Yeah.
not seen the second or third one, which is why I'm like Jonathan. Just go ahead with the spoilers because like I'll watch it eventually, but I doubt I'm gonna watch it immediately.
Yeah.
So I've thought about maybe watching them and catching up for the show, but anyways, but I was just kind of like, because I remember the first movie and I was like, that first movie was really good, and what made that movie so interesting is that you really didn't know what it was about. You didn't know what the Matrix was.
Yeah.
And so to replicate that is extremely hard.
Yeah,
So
especially with having the original trilogy already
mhm,
sitting there. But I thought they took the most interesting approach to trying to convey that. So I was
mhm,
like, the video game like the having it be a video game makes the most sense in our current day and age where everyone plays video games and video games are super realistic and stuff like that.
mhm, mhm,
Um, Now they don't do a good job because obviously they're playing scenes from the last movie, and the last movie is humans in it, so it's not a video game. So I thought what they probably should have did was they probably should have did like an animated sort of version of it, or like I don't know, a simple video game version of it, so that way we can actually see like, okay, this is what they saw when they
mhm.
were playing the video game. They didn't see the
Well, they did.
movie, but
They did release a Matrix video game
exactly. But I mean,
along
it was
with
like
the.
yeah, it was like in 2000, so it's really bad looking.
No,
But
like recently they released one.
really, along with the
Yeah, they
movie.
did. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it real fast.
Okay.
But continue, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, so that was the first I thought the first half of the movie at least was really good. There is this part in early in the movie where it's recreating the exact scene of the beginning of the Matrix, where like it's like Trinity's in this room, this dark room, she's on the computer, and then the cops come behind her and they're like, hands up. And then like the agents come out and they're like, hey, we told you cops to wait, and they're like, well, we can take care of one girl, and he's like, well, your officers are already dead. Like it's like
Mhm,
almost the exact scene replayed, but everything looks different. The characters look
mhm,
different. It's not actually Trinity. It's somebody else. And then she doesn't really do the same moves Trinity does. They're like a little bit less done. They're done a little bit less well. And the agent's a black guy. And you're like, I didn't know there were black agents. Okay, that's interesting.
mhm,
Um, and Trinity gets caught. She never got caught in the first one, so it's like everything's a little bit
mhm,
different. And that's what one. And so someone else is watching this from like a person from Zion basically came into the game and saw that scene play out, and they're like, "This is so weird. Like
mhm,
it's almost like the original, but it's not." And I was like,
mhm.
"That's another great meta scene. Like this is so great. Like you're doing such a great job right now." And then everything after that just went like completely downhill. It's just like boom,
Yeah.
like the floor dropped out. Um,
So everybody seems to be hating on it.
I
So
don't hate it.
everywhere I've
I don't. I'll say that a lot of people said this movie was trash before I
Mhm,
saw it because I was just scrolling through YouTube. I wasn't like trying to find any videos about
mhm,
the Matrix, and I follow a lot of movie critics, and like one of
mhm.
them was like, "Oh, the Matrix is trash. It's absolute garbage," and I was like, oh man, I hope it's not that bad. And so as I was watching the first half, of it I'm like, this movie is really good. Like I don't see where the trash is at, and then the second half, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I see now. But I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst movie ever. I think it's just a
Mhm,
meh. It's a meh kind of movie. It's like it has a lot of interesting ideas. It just doesn't capitalize on
mhm.
any of them. And then the ending's kind of like, ugh, it's just horrible,
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. It's understandable. Well, here I'm going to show you. We're going to continue with the review, but I'm going to show you the. It's called The Matrix Awakens, is what it's called. I don't know if that's the same title as what they gave it in the movie, but I'm going to share it real fast. Um, and I might play it without sound, but
I don't want to get a copyright strike.
can you hear it or no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
Thomas Anderson.
So
Like many
that's
of you, I work with computers.
this is what it is. I think
Our
it's just an
computers
Unreal
are also
Engine
mirrors, reflecting
conspiracy
back
like
who
thing.
and what we are and the choices we make, the worlds we build.
But I don't know. They said it looks really realistic. I haven't played it though. But
Ugh.
it just came out. Like literally just
Oh
came. But
wow.
I don't even know if it's a game though. Like it kind of seems like it's an experiment. See, it says experience. So I don't know. But yeah, they just released that.
So that's what they should have did though, because what they
Mhm,
actually did was they literally just played clips from the first movie and
mhm,
put them into the new movie, and it looked unrealistic because you're like, how does someone play this video game? Like, how is it?
mhm,
How does this video game look so realistic that it looks like real people?
mhm,
Um, but I think where the floor fell out was the mis was really it started with Mr. Smith, but it really got bad
mhm.
with Morpheus. The new Morpheus he just did not.
He's not good.
I don't know what they were going for with this character. Is my problem. Like I want to say he did a bad job, but I honestly
Mhm,
don't know what they were going for because he's part robot, but also like I don't know,
mhm,
not like he's like some mixture between like
mhm.
okay, so he described himself as a mixture between Mr. Smith and Morpheus, and Neo was the one who
Mm,
created him in order to bust him out of the Matrix. So like subconsciously, Neo knows that he's in the Matrix, but also subconsciously he doesn't want to get out. And so
mhm,
like he's like having this battle between himself, but then he like realized he has to get out, so he creates this like mixture of Mr. Smith and Neo and Morpheus to create this new Morpheus.
mhm.
Um,
It sounds
and
confusing.
yeah, very, 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 very confusing to me at least. It was very confusing. I
Mhm,
didn't understand it at all. Um,
mhm,
because if why would you put evil inside of Morpheus? Like
mhm,
Morpheus was perfect. He was like to me, he was literally the best person on the Matrix besides
mhm,
Neo. I would even say he's probably better than Neo. I mean,
mhm,
but just in terms of like ideals, knowing what he's supposed to
mhm.
do, following through, those kind of things. Um,
Oh, I think Jonathan paused real fast, guys. Sorry about that.
am I back?
Yes.
I'm plugged
Well,
in. I don't know what's
yes.
happening.
There you go. Yeah, you're good now. Anyways.
Okay, but he says he's Morpheus, and he even like quotes Morpheus's lines from the first movie.
Mhm.
Um, and he offers him the pills again. So he's like he's doing all the Morpheus things, but he's not Morpheus, and you can clearly tell he's not
Yeah.
Morpheus. By the way they dress him. Like
Mhm,
if you remember the first Matrix, everyone wears black everything. They're always constantly in the Matrix. They're always wearing black, and he comes
mhm.
out with this like bright orange suit. My wife loved it. I was like, this is horrible. Who did this? If he's supposed to be Morpheus, let him be Morpheus. Like
Yeah.
this is my problem with the whole movie. Either establish new characters that don't hinge on the old characters, or
Mhm,
don't do this movie. Because trying to
mhm,
recast these characters as other people does
mhm,
not work. Like the guy who plays Mr. Smith, he says he wasn't trying to be like the other Mr. Smith, like he didn't even want to do the same cadence, which doesn't make
mhm,
sense because Mr. Smith is a robot. So like he's supposed to
mhm,
sound like a robot. He's
mhm,
supposed to sound very robotic, and
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't sell the performance at all. I thought he did a bad
Mm-hmm.
job. I didn't think the script was good for him either.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to recast these people and
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't work. And it was more blatantly obvious when you show
Mm-hmm.
the first movie and then you go back to the new movie and you're just like, this is not good. Like this is not even on the same level. They're not even
Mm-hmm.
in the same universe. They're on two different
Mm-hmm.
planets here. The fight scene between him and Morpheus that you see in the trailer is bad. It does not look good. And that's what the one thing I thought was going to be better about this movie than the first movie.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Because I'm
fight
like,
scene.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, we're 20 years in the future. We've had so much like revelation in technology and CGI effects and like
Yeah.
post fights, like editing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
like just fight choreography altogether has grown so much. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a lot better. But it was so bad. It looked like no one
Mm-hmm.
like really cared. They just
Mm-hmm.
came for a check. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know why they did this to Neo, but he seems completely clueless throughout this entire movie. Even when he figures out he's the one, he still seems completely clueless. Like he seems
Mm-hmm.
uncertain about everything he does, and he has
Mm-hmm.
like zero confidence in himself whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how is the same guy who just destroyed the Matrix in the last movie? Like in the
Mm-hmm.
last movie, he like destroyed the Matrix. He realized who he was,
Mm-hmm.
and then he like comes in this movie. He's like, I never believed I was the one. And I was like, what do you mean you didn't believe you were the one? What?
We
What?
saw you do the whole like.
We saw you stop the bullets. Like there was a scene in the first Matrix where he realizes who he is
Mm-hmm.
after Trinity kisses him, and he wakes up and he's just like, no. Then he comes to a self realization of I am who I am. Like I am
Yeah.
the one. He even
Mm-hmm.
talks to the architect and says, like, I'm the one. Like he says that about himself talking to the
Mm-hmm.
architect. So how does he not believe he's ever been the one? Oh, there were just
Well,
so many.
that scene where he like that kind of undermines the scene where he realizes he's the one, because I remember that, and everybody was like trying to punch him and attack him, and he was just like,
He's just like, yeah, he's just like,
no, 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 no,
and
no, no, no,
he
no.
literally puts one hand behind his back just to see
Yeah,
how
that's right.
powerful he is.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
remember
like,
that. I
oh my
remember
gosh,
that.
they did
Oh,
Keanu.
dang.
They really did Keanu really bad in this movie because he just doesn't look good. He looks like an old, washed up Keanu Reeves. Like if you
Shouldn't have
thought
kept
like
the beard, man. Should have shaved the beard for this
I
role.
thought he should have saved the beard for the role too. I thought he should have cut his hair for
Yeah.
sure. But if you thought he learned something from John Wick, it's completely absent in this movie. Like it doesn't look like he knows how to fight at all. It looks like and someone pointed this out in a review I saw, and I didn't think about it until they pointed out. But he doesn't pick up a gun once. Like Keanu Reeves has been studying gung fu for like the better part of like what the last 5-7 years, and he doesn't pick up a gun once. Like this is literally the
Mhm.
king of gung fu right now in Hollywood, and he doesn't pick up a gun once. In
Yeah.
a movie that's about guns and shooting and fighting, he doesn't pick up a gun once.
Maybe it was a director's like choice. Like I've seen a lot of director ever since the Alec Baldwin thing. They're like, we're not going to use real guns, and we're not going to use guns in
But
our
everyone
thing.
else uses guns. That's the thing. Everyone
Oh, that
else
is
in the
weird then.
movie uses guns.
Hmm.
But I can understand it a little bit because if you watch the first one, after the first one, he really doesn't use guns much, if at all, after the first movie.
Hmm.
He kind of more just relies on his fighting abilities. I don't know why they did that, but
Hmm.
they did that. So I kind of understand that he didn't pick up a gun, but it just seems weird that Keanu Reeves, who's been
Hmm.
studying guns for, like I said, the better part of the last 5 to 7 years, doesn't pick up a gun once to show off his incredible skills. Like, have you seen his training videos that he does,
I
like
haven't.
practicing?
No.
Oh my gosh, watch some of his training videos like that he did in preparation for John Wick 1 and 2. He is actually really, really good at like marksmanship, at
Right.
like his like reloading and stuff like
I
that.
mean,
It's like
he's
he
been
looks
in
like a video
so
game
many.
character.
He's been in so many action movies. I kind of believe it, especially
Yeah.
the John Wick ones. He's had to study a lot for that. So
Yeah, and a lot of it was because he decided to do his own stunts. So a lot of people would have like someone sub in who's like professionally trained, who's been military trained, stuff like that, to do all these like
Mhm.
kind of gun scenes. But he was like so like I want to do this myself that he got really, really good at it. So I'm like, why not use that skill that he has now and
Mhm.
capitalize on it in this
Yeah.
movie?
Mhm.
Oh man, and it just the movie just falls uphill so fast, and if you're a traditional, like if you love the original Matrix and you love,
Mhm.
even if you did not love 2 and 3, but you like had a respect for them, you're not gonna like 4. Like you're just not gonna like this movie at all.
Yeah.
It's
There's
just
a lot of defenders of the trilogy. I've found like there's a lot of people who defend all 3 movies, and
oh
they're
yeah,
like,
I
yeah.
love all
So,
3 movies. I watched them again and I realized I undervalued the third one more than I thought I did. I really
mhm,
didn't. If
mhm,
you it it's what the Matrix, the 2 and 3 are trying to tell you is that the movie is more than just fighting. It's not just about the
mhm,
fighting. It's about more than that. Like so
mhm,
the people who just like Matrix 1 are like the people who like John Wick, you know? They just like the fighting.
mhm,
That's all they like.
mhm,
But the point of Matrix was bigger than just the fight scenes. It was bigger than the bullet time. It was bigger than Neo discovering he's the one. It was about choice versus fate. It was about determinism versus free will. Like that's what the bigger
mhm,
picture was about. And that's what they're trying to explain through 2 and 3. But
mhm,
4 is just it's a mess. It's a mess. None of the stories, none of the themes come together cleanly. All of it's too complicated.
mhm,
The fact that Trinity is the thing that makes him the one is stupid. The last half, the last fourth of the movie, he like completely forgets how to fight. Like Neo forgets how to fight. He can't fly anymore, which is weird. When he could fly in the last one, he literally says, "I can't fly," because they're in the scene where like a bunch of enemies are surrounding him, and they're like, "Can you still fly?" And he like does this like really weak jump off the ground, and he's like, "Oh, I can't fly anymore." It's like, why not? But he can force push. He can still force push things, and it's like, how does that make sense? How can you force push a car, but you can't
mhm.
force push yourself off the ground? That's literally what flying is.
Because that would be the same. Yeah, that
It's
would
just
be
the
the
same
exact same
thing. It's
thing.
the same thing. And I was just like so frustrated. I was like, why can't he fly? Why are you calling him Tom? I don't understand why you calling him Tom. I don't get that. You're not
It
friends.
sounds like to me. This is what it sounds like from somebody talking to me about. It sounds like they tried to do a lot of fan service by replicating
Yeah,
what made the first one great, but their story fell really flat.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
therefore, like they were relying solely on fan service at that point, and it's like that's not enough to keep the movie going through.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought Neil Patrick Harris did a great job. I thought he
Hmm.
really sold his part.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw the second one. You didn't see the second one, right?
No, I haven't. I kind of want to because I have HBO Max, so I can watch all of them. I just
Yeah.
haven't. I haven't watched them all, so I'm thinking about watching them. They're kind of long too, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty lengthy. I mean, I would say
Hmm.
you do want to focus when you're watching them because that's the only way you want to
There's a
understand
lot,
what's
yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Well, I
But
remember the first one blew my mind. I thought the first one was great, and so I
yeah.
was very surprised that I didn't watch the other ones. I think it's probably because I heard, oh, they're not that great, but I heard the second one was fairly good.
Yeah. The second
So
one.
yeah, I just never sat down and watched it. So,
Yeah. I just um it just it was I was just shocked at
mhm,
how bad of a turn the movie took. Like when you watch the fight scenes, you're gonna realize there's nothing special about any of these fight scenes. Like it's just kind of bland. It's bland.
mhm.
It's the same thing over and over again. Slams,
Was it
throws. Like
like the same kind of like choppy work? Like, because at the time that's what made that first one special. But I could see how now, if it's like the same kind of like I
no,
will
no.
block you, like it would be really cheesy.
It just doesn't feel like a blockbuster fight scene.
Mm.
It feels like I don't know a B tier movie fight scene.
Oh,
Like
ugh.
or even close to a C. Like it just doesn't feel special. It just feels kind of like normal, bland. It kind of
Mhm,
feels like
mhm,
um it just I don't know. I don't know how to better describe it other than that. It just doesn't feel like
mhm,
anything worth noting about. Like
mhm.
it's just like, oh, okay, they're fighting now. And a lot of it's shaky cam, which is weird though, because
Oh,
I thought we did away with that. I thought that was gone because
yeah,
we've gotten such crisper fight scenes recently, and like
yeah.
just the way that you can angle the camera can show like you don't have to have the actor in the scene so that you can have a better choreographed scene.
Mhm.
Um, so I thought we did away with shaky cam, but that's like a really present theme in this movie when you're watching these fight scenes. It's like
Too much shaky cam is really frustrating to the viewer.
yeah, because you
Like
can't concentrate. You can't concentrate on the fight.
they do a little bit of it in the Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and I think if I remember correctly, I'd have to do a rewatch of it. But I remember in the Winter Soldier, it kind of benefited from that
Hmm.
because they still kept the focus on the fight, and I believe it was still Chris Evans that was doing. He didn't have a stand-in, so they did shaky cam, but they kind of focused on the fight a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I've seen others where they're kind of like hiding behind a car, and then they're like hiding, and it's like, oh snap. Which I don't know if it was that bad, but still.
Well, it's just. I think what the Winter Soldier did was they were trying to show the speed of the fight, and that's what a shaky
Oh.
cam can do for you. Is when you're trying to show someone how fast the fight is going, that the camera's trying to keep up with it. It
Mhm.
can be effective, but when you're really just trying to disguise poor fighting by shaking the camera, it doesn't work as well.
Mhm.
Um, and that was one of my biggest takeaways. The music didn't feel special. Like
Mhm.
it didn't really like capture any of the scenes. I felt Neo. I felt like Carrie, the lady who plays Trinity, and Keanu Reeves. I didn't feel any chemistry between them. I didn't feel like they liked each other.
Ah.
I didn't feel
Yeah.
like they loved each other. I just was like, this feels very bland. This feels very much like they're two
Mhm.
older people who heard that there was another Matrix movie coming out, and they was just like, well, the fans want me to be in it, so I guess I'll go pass a check, you know? And they kind of
Yeah.
just showed up to work. I mean, there are hints here and there that you can tell that they're still friends, but it doesn't feel like they
Mhm.
like that. And this is probably where the movie really failed, was because the whole movie was about love. It's about like them loving each other, and their connection to each other is what really empowers the one narrative,
Mhm.
and makes them unstoppable. Which is even what Neil Patrick Harris points out, who's the main bad guy in this. Like their love is what empowers the Matrix to really
Mhm.
do the best that it can do.
Mhm.
But it doesn't. They don't sell it at all, and I think it's
Mhm.
mainly because of dialogue. The dialogue is just so bad in this movie. Like the dialogue between them, especially, it seems like two people who've never been on a date before talk about what being on
Mhm.
a date is like, and they're like, "Oh, I think they would say this." Like it's a bunch of like cheesy lines, and like it
Mhm.
just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like Neo and Trinity. It just feels like two random
Mhm.
people meet at a bar. I don't know. Um,
Mhm.
so you're not very convinced when Trinity decides to choose Neo over staying in the Matrix.
Mhm.
And there was this scene with her kids, like so in the when she's also back in the Matrix, she got brought back to life as
Mhm.
well. And there's this scene with her where like in this new Matrix, she has kids. She has kids and she has a husband. She has a whole
Oh,
new
that's
life
rough.
apart from Neo. Yeah. And so
Mhm.
I was thinking, okay, they're gonna really lean on this kid thing because that's probably gonna be the biggest motivator for her to want to stay in the Matrix, is that she feels her kids are real.
Yeah.
But like her family comes to her and says, "Hey, your daughter's been in an accident. We got to go to the hospital and hurry up and go there." And she's like hesitantly like, "Okay, I guess I'll leave now, Neo." And it's like, your kid's dying in the hospital. Like, shouldn't you be a little bit more alarmed? And she's just like, "I hate you." And she like beats her husband up, and it's like, okay, that's a very quick turnaround, I guess. It makes sense.
That's really funny.
It only makes sense because you know what's supposed to happen. That's the only reason why it makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you like,
Yeah.
okay, she's supposed to be with Neo, so yeah, she's
Mhm.
gonna break away from him. Um, but then at the end of the movie, this is the last thing I'm going to comment on. The end of the movie,
Yeah.
I hate this scene the most. They they get trapped on this tower, on this building, this high scraping building,
Mhm.
and they're trapped by these helicopters who are like trying to shoot them down or whatever and kill them.
Mhm.
And so they have to jump off. And but basically what they're basically saying to each other is they want to they rather commit suicide than stay inside the Matrix. And so they decide to jump off the building. Neo still can't fly, so you're wondering, okay, they're gonna die here. This is
Yeah.
great. Like this is gonna be the end of Neo and Trinity, and they can build the next Matrix off of somebody else. But Trinity can fly now. I was like, what? Since when? How
Isn't
can
that
she
what's
fly and Neo can't fly?
isn't that what's supposed to make him special?
Is that he can fly?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And the thing that
Hmm.
is the craziest is because Mr. Smith
Mhm.
sees Neo fly away in the second movie.
Mhm.
And he's like, dang, that's a crazy power. And then in the third movie, Mr. Smith gets that power because he's been like evolving so much, and he absorbs the Oracle, and he absorbs, all these different powerful beings, that he
Mhm.
becomes so powerful that he can now fly too. And that's what makes the climax of their
Hmm.
battle so important, because it's two superpowered people who
Mhm.
gain this power. And it made her feel like a Mary Sue. Like it made her, I'm just sorry to say that, it made her feel like a Mary Sue character. And she like suddenly can fly. Like no one saw it coming,
Mhm.
and he didn't do anything to deserve the power or earn the power like Neo did, going through
Yeah.
all this training and discovering he was the one.
Mhm.
It was disappointing. It was disappointing. And she basically carries him through up into the sky in a way. And it was just like that's the end of the movie. And I was like, what? that was
That's
it.
That's how it ended.
Yeah, basically. I mean, there's another scene where they confront Neil Patrick Harris now that she has powers. She basically she busts into his apartment and she snaps his jaw off, and then she snaps and he his jaw comes back on his body, and then he's like, Neo, control your woman, and then she just knocks his head off his body clean off, and then she snaps and it comes back on. And
weird.
Yeah,
so she has control of the Matrix.
The Matrix now, yeah. So she's basically the one as well. Like they're both the ones or one.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was a very weird conclusion to a very strong start. Because it didn't feel like they were going in this direction at all. And then like last minute shift turn, and it was like, okay, now we're here. She's the one as well, and she can do all the things that Nia can do, probably even better than he can do because he couldn't fly for a very long time. But at the end of the movie, he flies, and you're like, so why couldn't he fly before? What was the thing keeping him from flying? Was it that she hadn't flown yet, so now he was waiting for her to fly in order for him to fly?
Because he's accepted that he's the one.
Also, no one dies in this movie. I think that's the biggest problem in this movie, that no one dies. In the first one, when those two people die, and you see and then you become aware that anybody can die in this movie, and that's what makes you concerned for Morpheus when he gets captured. Is you think they're going to kill this guy if Neo doesn't come save him. So there's no stakes in this movie at all. You don't feel any compassion for the characters, and I don't know anybody's name except for the one girl, and they introduce themselves. Like in the middle of the movie, they stop and introduce everybody, and I don't know anyone's names but Bugs, because her name was Bugs Bunny, literally Bugs Bunny, because Warner Brothers owns Looney Tunes. She literally has a carrot on her shirt.
That's kind of dumb. I gotta say, I'm sorry that Warner Brothers would. Yeah,
is it anywhere on the nose?
That's a bit much, in my opinion. I don't know.
Also, one of Neo's in Neo's office, they show a bunch of his toys that he has, and a lot of them are recalls from from the Matrix game or the Matrix movies, and he has a Batman statue in his amongst his toys. And he's just what? Why?
Ever since the Space Jam movie with LeBron James, Warner Brothers has just felt like they can do whatever they want. They're like, look, we own Bugs Bunny, we own Batman, we own. It's like, if you would do something good with those characters, you might be more interested in it. Yeah. Like Disney doesn't even flex that hard. Disney does not flex that hard at all. Like, that's really frustrating.
Yeah, it was a poor. I think the lack of stakes, the lack of true romance in the movie, and the lack of a consolidated point to the movie made the movie fall apart. And I thought the first half, I will contest with anyone, the first half of the movie is probably the best half of that movie. It's really, really I would probably get that a 8 out of 10, because it was just a really good idea. It was and it was all coming together, all the pieces. I think the lack of stakes, the lack of the bad casting, the poor action scenes, and then her becoming a Mary Sue at the end of the movie just ruined it for me. But it was meh. It was meh. It was meh. It was a meh movie. You've seen those before.
I've seen.
Think about the second Thor movie. It was meh. It's it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't good either.
It's my favorite movie. I don't know what you're talking. My favorite. No. No. Yeah, I guess I'd agree with you. Man, I feel like I kind of want to watch it now, though. Just
I would say watch it. I would say watch it. It's not like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it can be funny at times because of how bad it is. But I mean, not to a true fan, obviously, because you kind of just hate yourself and hate everyone who's a part of the film.
I never laughed at that movie. I couldn't. It was so bad. It was the biggest insult in my entire life. That was an insult of a movie. I could not watch it. I was just like, this director does not care at all. I was like, he does not care about this show whatsoever. That's how I felt when I watched it. Well, man. Well, do you think that there's going to be a sequel, or do you think that do you think they'll make a sequel?
Absolutely. I mean, Warner Brothers is at this point, and I don't like to be crude, but Warner Brothers is up their own butt right now with how big they are. You know,
Mhm.
like they really think they're this stuff because they have everything. I mean, they have Lord of the Rings. They have the Matrix series. They have all the Harry Potters. They have. I'm surprised. I wouldn't. Well, they're doing Fantastical Beasts right now, so that's
Mhm.
basically a Harry Potter spinoff, and they're doing
Mhm.
an Amazon or no HBO. Is it Amazon or HBO? It might be
Probably
Amazon doing the Lord of the Rings.
Amazon is, yeah.
Yeah, Amazon. So they already have a Lord of the Rings thing going on too. I would be very surprised if they don't do a sequel to this movie, just because they're making so much money off of it. Like it doesn't matter. Like at this
Mhm.
point, it really does not matter if they lose money because they're really making money at the same time. So
Are they making money on it though? That was my thing. Is I don't know how much the money the movie's made.
well, it doesn't. And this is why I was thinking. I don't think they care because they released it on HBO Max same day as theaters.
Mhm.
So I don't think they
Mhm.
care that people go watch it in theaters or not because they're
Mhm.
just kind of like we own it anyway. And
Yeah.
so if we want to make another one, we're going to. And if you don't like it, we don't really care because you have HBO Max, so
Mhm.
you're gonna
Yeah.
even if you don't watch it, we're still gonna display it. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too is like I could see it becoming another trilogy because that's what people are doing right now. They're
trilogy.
remaking or continuing it. And so they're probably like, well, even though this is bad, it didn't tank, so we
Yeah,
should just we should just try to take the good stuff and keep going with it.
but
Um
like when have they? I don't know a. I'm thinking of like one of our properties. When have they ever learned a lesson about like that was a bad movie? Like Superman, Batman, BVS,
um did they
Justice
make
League.
Ghostbusters?
I'm not sure. They probably did. I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Let's see. Because they may have learned their lesson there. I'm serious though. I'm serious. Um. Oh, Ghostbusters is Sony. Never mind, they're Sony. Sony owns them. So okay. Well, I don't know. I don't think they have. I mean, they definitely have it with DC.
Yeah.
They made the Snyder cut, and then they saw how many people liked it, and they were like, "Crap, we should."
We shouldn't have
Like,
released it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they said we should have done this instead. Like, because you know that with the reception of that, which I don't know how much money they made off of it, but just with the reception alone, if that would have been in theaters, it probably would have done really, really well,
Yeah.
honestly. So it's just like and they keep putting their hands
In
into
the
their
cookie jar.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like just let the director do whatever he wants to do, and if it turns out great, it'll turn out great. Like don't worry about selling toys and all this stuff. Like that'll come if the story is good. If the
Yeah.
story's not good, then nobody's gonna want a piece of that.
Do you know no one reached out to Lawrence Fishburne to reprise his role?
Really?
What?
Nobody?
Nobody. He said in an interview nobody reached out to him to reprise his role. I mean, he's a lot older now, but that doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Like someone should say something to him.
I mean, no offense to Lawrence Fish. Well, no offense to bald people, but when you go bald, it still makes you look young. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was bald in the original one.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
just
yeah.
and
Just say it again.
he would have been fine. Like he would have been completely fine. Like that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
That surprises me because I thought maybe he just turned it down.
yeah. No. He said he would have done it. He said he loved it. He loved the story.
He
He loved
was he was a great part of the first one.
Oh yeah, he was integral to the first to all three movies.
Mhm.
Like the three movies
Mhm.
don't really aren't as good or well received if he doesn't
Mhm.
nail Morpheus' part because Morpheus is so central to the whole identity of the one,
Mhm.
you know, and
I'm
fate
I
and
mean, I think he's more important than Trinity for
oh yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah,
like that's kind of weird that they would make her more important in this last one than Morpheus, but I don't know. It's weird.
yeah. Also, the guy who was Mr. Smith in the original trilogy, he said that they asked him to reprise his role. He was really excited about doing it, and they were in discussions because he was already doing like a theater. I think he does like I'm not gonna say Broadway, but like theater. He's
Mhm.
currently doing theater right now, and
Mhm.
he was already in the middle of a project, and he was originally discussing with them about working in between his schedule. Like, you know, whenever
Oh.
he had his off days from the theater, he would come and
Mhm.
do his scenes or whatever. But like last minute, they were like, "Hey, we decided we're just gonna stick with our dates and just like we're gonna recast your role.
That's a Warner Brothers thing. That's a Warner Brothers. That's got to be a Warner Brothers thing. That's not if the director wanted to make the best movie, the Warner Brothers would back off a little bit and be like, hey, yeah, like just let's work around his schedule, whatever, to get him. That's crazy. I think that's a studio. That's a studio problem.
I don't know, man. I just we like this. We like if anyone said before this movie came out, this is going to be a bad movie. We had all the signs there. All the signs were there before the movie came out. This was going to be a bad movie.
I wasn't sure how it was going to be. I was just kind of like, I didn't feel the hype behind it, to be honest. That was my thing. I didn't hear a lot of people being like, oh, I can't wait to see Matrix. Like, I didn't hear that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Especially because I think because it came out on HBO Max, maybe that takes a little bit away from it.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, I'll watch it at home.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, I've noticed, is that you're starting to see what people will go to the theaters for and what they won't. And it's almost kind of like they're fine with streaming it at home if it's not a huge blockbuster action movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If it's a huge blockbuster action movie, they'll go watch it in theaters. But if it's just like a drama, they're probably going to watch it at home. They're not going to watch it in the theater. They're like, why? What's the point in spending money? Which is kind of like, it never used to fully be that way. I mean, action movies would make more, but like it's funny because people have setups at home that are like just as good for their small space. So they're just like, I'd rather stay at home and watch it on my OLED TV with my surround sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. That could be one reason why I didn't do as well. I don't know.
I'm gonna rate the Matrix movie, the fourth one. I'm gonna go 3 black cats out of 10.
3 black. Why black cats?
That's actually in the movie. The black cat that Morpheus that Neo sees in the first one. And he's like, and he sees it twice, and he's like, deja vu.
That's right. I remember that now.
The cat actually, yeah. But the cat is actually in the 4th movie, and the cat's name is Deja Vu.
That's
and
funny.
It's Neil Patrick Harris's cat.
Of course it is. That's funny. That's also on the nose.
Yeah, there are so many like problems with this movie. I could literally go on for an entire podcast.
Where would you rank it out of the 4? Like, how would you rank it?
It's the worst of all 4. It's for sure the worst of all 4. Yeah.
So you think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, or do you think
I could see a coin flip between 2 and 3? In my personal opinion, I thought 2 had too many. It looked too cartoony sometimes, and that was just the age of CGI at that point. Was that it looked bad. It looked like a video game. But I think the 3rd one learned its lesson from 2 and didn't do that in the 3rd one. But I thought the message of the 3rd one was more compelling than the message of the 2nd one. So, but I don't know. That's why I say I can see a coin flip, because I appreciate that they gave us Neo in his final form in the 2nd one, which was like him, like fully powered. He can control basically everything. He can fly. He can do whatever he wants to. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I see a coin flip between the 2.
Okay. Huh. Cool. Well, you guys heard it then. That's Jonathan's review of the last Matrix. So he does say to go see it. He does say to go see it.
I mean, if you have HBO Max already, it's 2.5 hours. I'm not gonna say it's a complete waste. If you've seen the trilogy, go see the 4th one. Just to understand how poor the movie is.
Well, it also sounds like there's something they might like out of it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not like the whole movie's bad. Just the first half is really it's I'm not gonna say really good. It's just it's an interesting concept to think about, but the second half just doesn't fulfill on it. So
yeah.
Some people say that that was on purpose. Some people say that was on purpose because I don't know if you know this, but 2 sisters directed the original trilogy. Only one of them came back for the 4th movie.
I didn't know that.
And some people are saying that they on purpose made this movie bad because they didn't want to do a sequel. They just wanted the trilogy to stand by itself. And so they like deliberately made this movie not as good as the first one. I don't know why you would do that, but that's what I've heard from some of the people I listened to.
Are you talking about two men created the Matrix?
Yeah. It was a family.
the Wazowski brothers, right?
Yeah.
And then they became women. They're transgender women.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. No, I was honestly really confused because I was like,
thought you
I
would
thought it
be.
was brothers who did the first one, but people keep saying sisters now, and I'm like, only one sister came back, but I thought it was guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I don't care.
I know.
I
I
don't
just
care.
was. I thought I would confuse you because you're like two sisters, man. And I was like, well, technically they were brothers at the time, and
Yeah.
then they
Well,
became
now
sisters.
they're sisters, Eric. Okay.
Sorry, my bad. I'm not woke enough.
Don't participate in hate speech. All right.
I'm not. It's not hate
get us
speech.
canceled.
I
Don't mispronoun them. Okay.
I was just trying to give you the facts. All right, that's all I was trying to do. Anyways, well, we'll move on to last little order of business here, real quick. Real quick. I almost said real quick.
Quack.
And we want to talk about which Jonathan said we didn't talk about this on a past podcast, so I guess maybe we didn't, but we're going to talk about sports a little bit. And Steph Curry has broken the all-time three points made, right? All-time 3-point,
Ray Allen,
which is insane that he
Yeah.
did it in such a short amount of time, in my opinion.
A lot shorter.
So, but Jonathan, you were saying that like some people were having a debate that he may or may not be the best scorer of all time.
Well,
What do you think about
I
that?
would say he's definitely the best scorer of all time. I would definitely agree with that.
Better than you think. Well, what's weird is that you say that, but he hasn't accumulated the most points. He's nowhere near the top 10. I don't believe.
Yeah, no. I mean, and that's I don't like the all-time points record just because that's a longevity argument, and it's not really a in your time period when you were at your peak, like Kareem played into his what I want to say almost into his 40s. Kareem played into his 40s basically to get the record. But would anyone say he was a better offensive talent than Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 100 in the games? Like, I don't think anyone would say that. I would be surprised if someone did, just because he had the skyhook. But Wilt could score at will on anybody. Is what it seemed like. So, and I don't think he's better than like a Kevin Durant. I don't think he's better than like a LeBron James at scoring. He's a good scorer. I just don't think he's that good. But anyway, the conversation was about is he the greatest shooter of all time? The greatest shooter of all time. And someone brought up a point that just because he has the all-time record does not make him the de facto greatest shooter of all time, because that's just the trend of the league. Because if you remember back in the early 70s and 80s, it was more of a 2-point game. You had a lot of big men like Wilt and Kareem dominating the game because no one really shot from outside unless they had to. I mean, it became a skill in the 90s, 2000s because people realized the value of it, and then it became the dominant thing in the game in the later 20s, 2020 and later 2015 2020. So I thought that was an interesting thought.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Well, I mean, who would be the leading? I mean, I would think you would be up there though, right? Like, I mean, if you scored like, okay, then who's the leading scorer for 2-pointers? Nobody knows who that guy is.
No,
exactly.
But
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
But I would say in my mind, and some people are going to hate me for this, but I still think Ray Allen is probably one of the greatest shooters I've ever seen. Like, his ability to be clutch when it mattered the most, like that shot against San Antonio still haunts me to this day. Like, and that was on the biggest stage of them all. That was like do or die time. Like, that was like, if you don't make this shot, we're going to lose this game. Basically, we're going to lose this series. The end of the Heat dynasty, and he makes that shot. Like, and he's had like plenty of those shots all throughout his career, and he was never a Steph Curry, like, at least definitely in his later years, where he kind of off the dribble just shot. He was more of a what do you call it? A catch and shoot kind of guy. But the league evolved to Steph Curry, who's now a off the dribble 3-point shooter, off the dribble half court, off the dribble logo shot shooter at a very high rate, which is really cool. I just think, man, when I'm thinking about like the guy who personified a clean jump shot and a clean shooting at the highest level of all time, consistency in the biggest moments as well, I don't put Steph Curry that high on my list.
Mhm. Well, okay, so when you're in my mind, when I'm talking about the best shooters of all time, I'm thinking of accuracy and I'm thinking of number of points, right? Because it's got to be, in my mind, it goes hand in hand. So I was just looked it up, but do you know who the highest percentage 3-point shooter is?
Is it Steve Kerr?
It is Steve Kerr. It's
Yeah.
45% for Steve Kerr. Third on that list is Seth Curry. Seth Curry is 44%.
Yeah.
Steph Curry is 43%. He's a little bit further down because there's a point something percentage on there. Now, if you're talking about points overall, out of the, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So out of the top 10 of best 3-point percentage, Steph Curry has the highest amount of points by a
Points per
very
game?
wide. Yeah, he has 19,000.
Yeah.
Everybody else who's in that top 10 percentage wise has 5,000, has 3,000, has 4,000. I mean, here, I'll just share it real fast so everybody can see.
Yeah, but that's what I meant by like talking about the earlier decades of NBA play, when the 3-point shot was just not that highly touted.
Mhm.
You know, you like Steve Kerr, like if you look at how many 3-pointers Steve Kerr took a game compared
Mhm.
to Steph Curry, it's like not even close.
Oh, definitely.
I
Definitely.
think
Yeah.
I think Steph takes like 12 a game now, and
Mhm.
Steve would take like 6.
For
You
sure.
know?
Well, but wouldn't you say wouldn't you say if somebody has a very high percentage of mixed with a very high amount of points,
With
because that
volume,
means that
yeah.
that means that that means they've taken more shots, right? If they have a higher amount of points, that obviously means they've taken more shots overall. So that's
Yeah.
going to tell me. I mean, now you could find out how many of those shots are 3-pointers, but I mean, we already know Steph Curry shoots probably the most. Yeah, I mean, okay, like right here, you can see it right here. 3 points made. He's made 3,000 3-pointers, 3,004. And his percentage is 43%. Now Ray Allen, he's not even in the top here for 3-point percentage. He's not even up here in the top,
Yeah.
which makes me think that therefore I would imagine Steph Curry would be the better shooter out of the two, because his point percentage, his 3-point percentage is nowhere even in the top. I think this is the top 20. It's not even in the top 20 on this website, which is kind of like Steve Nash is higher up here. So I mean, that to me, that proves that he's probably the best shooter. Now scorer is a little bit different, right? Because scorer could mean, you can make an argument of who the best scorer is. It's not necessarily, like you said, it's not always going to be the
The person who has
longest
the most.
person. Yeah, the
Yeah.
person who's been around the most and been around the longest. But I feel like it could be, you could have a big man up there. You could have a 3-point shooter up there. You might have a more well-rounded person, who can make a three, and you'd have to take into a couple statistics. I feel like a couple different ones to find who probably the best scorer was. But I feel like best shooter, that's just like accuracy and amount of points. I mean, do you disagree, or what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I classify it as amount of points. I would say I think accuracy does play a role. I think number of threes plays a role, but I also think the era you played in plays a role. And that's why I think about, like, when I'm thinking about Steve Kerr, or when I'm thinking about Ray Allen, I'm thinking like, you don't get to take the number of threes that Steph Curry does, which could affect your percentage, could affect your point total. I mean, if Steve Kerr only gets six threes a game, and he only makes 3 a game, or 4 or something like that, he's not going to even have close to the comparable volume that Steph Curry is going to have. And it's not because he couldn't do it, because we see his percentage is still very high, regardless of how many shots he took. But it's just that he didn't get the opportunity to. So that's why I don't like, if we're talking about who's the greatest who's the greatest shooter, I don't like the longevity argument. If you're saying he's the
Best
best,
scorer.
I don't know. I don't even know. I can't even go with scorer because I just think Michael Jordan is probably the best scorer I've ever seen. He just there was just no weakness to his game. Like he could shoot threes if he needed to. His mid range was lethal. His post game was absolutely he could destroy someone in the post. He could drive the lane like nobody else. He could finish at the rim like nobody else. He had physicality. He had his jumping ability was bar none. I mean, he's literally called Air Jordan. So offensively, there was no weakness to his game that I can see when I look at best scorer. So I still think hands down Jordan's the best scorer I've ever seen. But when I think about shooter, I and this is the point that was brought up. I don't know that I've seen enough of Steph Curry shooting well when the games matter the most. Like in the regular season, he's been very, very good. He's been MVP level good. He's probably been the best shooter I've ever seen in the regular season. I could probably say that. But when it comes to late game, playoffs, finals kind of appearances, he's kind of been second fiddle to somebody else. First championship, Andre Iguodala's MVP because Steph Curry, he just didn't play that well. As much as we want him to have the MVP, he just didn't. He honestly did not play that well until the last couple of games. The second game, Draymond Green gets suspended and the whole team falls apart, even though Steph Curry is still playing, and they still go down 3-1 because Draymond Green got suspended that one game. And the 2 seasons after that, Kevin Durant was the better player. He was by far better than Steph Curry on that team. So when I'm thinking about all those factors, I'm like, how can I, with great confidence, say that he's been the greater shooter when I can see Ray Allen's track record of big time shots that he's hit over his career and having even less volume? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're good. I think you're making good points. So I think when I think of shooter and scorer, I think shooter is more of that's where I probably see the difference. I don't see them as one of the same, which I know you said you don't either.
Yeah.
But the way you're describing it to me kind of sounds like maybe you're thinking a little bit different than I am. So this is what I think. So when I think of the greatest shooter, I'm thinking of someone who when they shoot the ball, they're going to make it the most times. When I'm thinking of scorer, I'm thinking of somebody who has the ability to score as often as they need to or want to. So for me, it's not hard for me to call Steph Curry the best shooter of all time because I'm literally thinking, okay, who's the best shooter of all time? Well, it's probably somebody who has a very high amount of shots and has made a majority of those shots,
Okay,
or
fair.
or has a very high percentile.
So you're saying basically you don't hold it in that high of a regard that it needs too much thought process beyond just like volume and accuracy.
Yes, I don't think it's
Okay.
I mean, because sure, Steph Curry can go and shoot a three and almost 50% of the time he's going to make it. However, can he score at will? He can't score at will, so he's not the best scorer. At least that's how I see it. So like Michael Jordan might be in the running for the best scorer. I mean, he's in the running for the best basketball player of all time, obviously, because of how he played. But you can make it, you could even make an argument for Shaq that he was possibly the best scorer of all time in the way that he played the game. He could, if you got it to him, he could probably score.
Yeah.
I'm not now. I haven't watched enough of Shaq. I'm not going to compare him to other people, but for scorer, I think that's where you can take position into account a little bit more, because even if you said, well, there's a case to be made for Steve Kerr to be a better shooter, it's like, well, in my opinion, it shows that Steve Kerr isn't a better shooter than Steph Curry, because Steve Kerr obviously was not shooting the ball enough to be I mean, he was a key player on the Bulls, but he wasn't a star. You know what I mean? Like, he did not have that, whereas Steph Curry has that kind of, he can play. He's not just a 3-point shooter, right? Like, he can do more than, he's not a one-trick pony. And I'm not saying Steve Kerr was, but obviously that was what they had him there for, was to shoot threes. They didn't use him for anything else because, let's be honest, he probably was not as talented in other areas as the 3-point line. Steph Curry is, he can drive to the basket. He's very good at making, he's just very good at making like dime shots where he's like driving the lane and then he just throws up a floater. He's got other skills besides just shooting threes. So in my opinion, the reason he has so many points is because he's just that good as a player. that that a team is willing to allow him to have the ball that often because he's that good of a player. Whereas like Steve Kerr, he was a great player, and I don't want to diminish anything he did because he won a lot of championships, but and he was a part of a team, but he was there for a specific role and a specific purpose. He wasn't there to outshine Michael Jordan, and Steph Curry is the Michael Jordan of the Golden State Warriors. He's their main guy, he's their player, and it makes sense that he's going to have the most amount of threes because he's going to have the ball in his hands most of the time. And when you can shoot that good, so that's kind of where I'm going from. Shooter to scorer, but I'm not going to say that he's a better scorer because, and that's what I'm saying, but because you can make that argument for different people. And I think that does take into consideration position a little bit more because you may have someone who's a great scorer who doesn't shoot threes as much, right? So you can say, oh, well, Steph Curry's the better scorer because he shoots all of these threes. And it's like, yeah, but like he wasn't able to go down the lane and get down low and make game time shots. Like he couldn't just do whatever he wanted on the court. Whereas there's probably other basketball players that you could probably admit the closer they were to the basket or the more time, you'd have to probably figure out percentage wise and a few other things, but there's more that you have to take into account when you're thinking better score. Right. So that's what I think.
I could say. I think where we differ is you're putting the emphasis on shooter, and I'm putting the emphasis on greatest. So when I think about greatest, I'm thinking Tom Brady. I'm thinking Michael Jordan. I'm thinking you have to be good not just when the games don't matter, but when the games matter. And so if I'm going to say you're the greatest shooter, I'm going to have to say like you're good from start to finish. You're good on both ends of that. And you were the best on your team on both of those ends. But I and that's probably why I'm saying I'm not as certain. I feel like my brain is like, no, my heart is like Steph Curry is definitely the greatest shooter of all time. Like in just a simple layman's terms, but in my complicated head, I'm like, yeah, but I haven't seen him make any like real clutch shots beyond the regular season.
I understand. So yeah, so I'm kind of taking clutchness out of it, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference is I'm taking, which I attribute clutchness to scoring. Like that's where I would attribute it because you could even make a case for Kobe in some aspects that he's a better scorer than a lot of the people that they're talking about. But I think that's a different debate just overall, but you're saying that with a shooter, you think that there's clutchness that needs to go along with that. In your opinion.
Only when we're talking about who's the greatest shooter. Because if I have a pool of guys who are all over 40% 3-point shooting, I'm like, okay, what separates you is how good are you down the stretch? Like, does your shooting go up or does it go down? And with Steph Curry, I've only seen it ever slightly diminished down a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, he's consistent. He's very consistent. But I do see your point. Like, you're talking about clutch plays. You're talking about when your team needs you the most, are you able to still perform? And it's like, well, in fact, you're also bringing it to when your team needs you to perform, are you able to win the game? Not just not just perform at a high level, but can you win the game?
Yeah. With your shooting ability, not just like with like driving to the limit. We're talking like shooting. With shooting, are you able to shoot your team back into a game, into a meaningful game, not a regular season against the Pistons? Like I'm talking about like a meaningful. This is like game 6, game 7 of the playoffs. Like, can you really shoot them back into this game?
See, well, I think now we're going to get into a debate about the game of basketball in a whole, because I've heard many people say you can't really shoot your way out of a loss, right? Like you have to get, if you want to win, you're usually going to have to get down and dirty. You can't.
That sounds like some old head stuff, Eric. Okay,
I'm sorry, man. Head. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm sorry.
That's what's going to happen though in the game of basketball. Like I've heard so many people say that, and it's true. You can't really shoot.
Yeah, you're not. I'll say this: you're not supposed to shoot your way out of it.
Yeah, usually because it can't be done. You know what I mean? It generally can't be done. And to be honest, we haven't seen this is where we're getting into the debate of scores again. I haven't seen Steph Curry have like 60-point games, 70-point games, like 50-point games. I've never seen it.
Crazy with how many threes he shoots. You would think he would have like, several of those.
I think it's probably more so a consistent like 30 something points per game, right? It's just like consistency is what shows up for him. So for me, I mean, we could probably meet in the middle, and say I would say he's probably the best shooter of all time.
Okay, I can go
You know,
best. I like word games.
you don't
I like
like
word
greatest
games.
though.
Everyone's in the comments like, "This is the same thing. They're synonyms." Shut up. Okay.
Jonathan's like, they're not. They're not. He's not the greatest.
He's the best. He's the best shooter. He's the best
He's
shooter.
yeah.
I can go with that.
I thought you
I just-
could for some reason.
I just
know
don't like
why.
the word great because no, when I think about greatest, and this is probably like part of my argument against LeBron is
Mhm.
that when I think about greatest, I don't just think about who has the most rebounds and who has the most assists and who has the
Mhm.
most point totals and who has the most this and that. It's
Mhm.
like that's all longevity stuff. I'm talking about like if I'm playing for my life and there's 1 minute
Mhm.
left, who do I want to give the ball to? And it's
Mhm.
not going to be LeBron James. It's always going to be Michael Jordan because I at least
Mhm.
have a coin flip chance
Mhm.
of living. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree because also it depends on the situation too. Because Michael Jordan, from a scoring perspective, he could get you a 2 or a 3,
Exactly. Any
right?
shot you need.
He can get you pretty much anything. Whereas a shooting perspective, Steph Curry's probably the best shot if you need a 3-point. But however, think about his physicality, right? He's smaller, he's thinner, he's a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't want to say he's weak, but he is weak. He is weaker
In comparison, yeah.
in comparison to other people. Plus, this is going to be a guy who's probably double teamed, triple teamed, right?
Yeah.
So, I see your point. I just disagree on the aspect of bringing clutchness into it. I think I can say he's the greatest shooter of all time.
Guys, I don't hate Steph Curry. I do not hate Steph Curry. I'm actually a big fan of his. Okay, not huge.
You are a big fan of Steph Curry.
I'm not the
yeah.
greatest fan of Steph Curry, but I am probably the best fan of
Mhm.
Steph Curry. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I differ a little bit. Also, I think what makes the Golden State Warriors great is not necessarily Steph Curry. It's how well their team plays together.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
They kind of have a Chicago Bulls thing going on. To be honest, like they have this just really good team effort where when a piece of them falls off, you really feel it.
Mhm.
But the thing is, I think you're right. Whenever a piece of them falls away, except for maybe this year. How are they doing this year, by the way? I haven't
They're
been
doing really
watching.
good, but again,
thought
this
they
is
were,
the
right?
regular season.
Yeah.
This is the regular season, so like, yeah,
Yeah,
Peyton
that's
Manning
true.
can go for 4,000 yards in the regular season, but he only has 2 Super Bowls, while Tom Brady has 7. Like, it's not a comparison. We're
For
talking
sure.
about
I
the
just want to
greatest quarterback.
wanted to make the caveat because I thought they were doing pretty good this year. Without having Clay. Is Clay back finally?
No, he's coming back
He's not.
early January is what they're saying right now.
Okay. Like even without Clay, but they're doing pretty good. But generally in the past, whenever a piece of them is gone, you see the team kind of bleed.
Yeah,
At that
a
point.
lot, but like
Yeah.
a lot.
That's generally what happens. So
Yeah.
whereas the thing is, if we're talking about better score, to your point, that's where you want a Michael Jordan or you want a Kobe Bryant or, I wouldn't want LeBron James today, but give me like LeBron James maybe 10 years ago.
You mean
That's
like
who I
when he was
would
on
have.
the Heat?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I agree with that.
LeBron James, I mean, we're going to get into a different discussion. I think LeBron James was a lot more clutch back in the day than he is now. I don't think he's as clutch as he used to be.
I would probably say my best version, my favorite version of LeBron was when he went back to Cleveland the first year. The first and second year was probably my favorite, my favorite versions of LeBron.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I agree with you. I think that was where he was at his most clutch.
Yeah.
Where he was just, I mean, that was probably the best part of his prime.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, he had all the physical gifts of his youth, but also still had all the mental and ingenuity of a veteran. So that's why I think that was the best part of him.
Yeah, because now, like we've talked about before, he kind of just he plays like a wiser player. He doesn't, but you like he's very careful with his minutes. He doesn't overexhaust himself because he knows he's going to need it for later in the game. He also takes a lot more threes than he used to. He does drive to the basket, but he doesn't drive as much as what you used to see him. I mean, I remember when he was really young, when he was playing at Cleveland the first time, and he was just like, he was always driving to the basket.
So explosive.
Yeah, definitely. I also hated him less then.
So. When he was just a little kid getting beat up by the Boston Celtics and the Pistons.
Once he said he could play with the Toon Squad, I was just like, no, that's a very rare team. Only certain people get to be on there. So, I would have much rather that movie with a Blake Griffin. I would have. I know that they're like, well, that's the test to being the greatest player is like you have to be in Space Jam, and I'm like, no, like that movie would have been way funnier with a Chris Paul and a Blake Griffin. I would have loved that. Like, would have been way funnier.
I'm still shocked he didn't do a good job acting in that movie. I thought he was gonna do so much better. I'm really, really shocked. Like I was like, if anything, he's gonna have the better Space Jam than Michael Jordan did.
No,
Like I really thought that, but that was so disappointing. And that wasn't because I hate LeBron. It was just like I really went into that movie like this is probably gonna be better than Space Jam. Like I had expectations that it was gonna be better than Space Jam.
When honestly, I knew that movie was gonna be bad. I knew I wouldn't like it at least. When I heard that Warner Brothers was doing the whole connected universe thing, I was like, no, that's not a good idea. Like, if you want to make it epic, you focus on the greatness of LeBron James with the quirkiness and craziness of the Looney Tunes. Like, that's, in my opinion, that's what makes the original good, is because like it's Michael Jordan. Like, it's literally Michael Jordan. Like, and then in this movie, it was kind of like, oh, LeBron's here, so we have to have Batman and Robin, because you might not like LeBron James. You know, you gotta have all these other universes like Lord of the Rings in there, and Pennywise.
You might not like LeBron James. That's hilarious.
That's literally how it felt. That's how it felt.
Don Cheadle in there just to make sure.
That's right. Got to put Don Cheadle, who overacted.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I hated his dude that he played. I can't remember his name, but
someone told Don Cheadle, take this role very seriously.
Yeah, I know. And he
really did that.
He gave it his all. Like, he's a good actor too. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, and I hated the story too. Like how LeBron James was like, you got to put in the work. You got to do the work. And I'm like, bro,
that's not your personality. That's not.
No, it's not. Like, I know he's not like that at home. I can just tell. Like, he's not this.
If it's something like I don't want to play basketball, he'd be like, "Oh, cool. Like, yeah, do you, man."
Yeah, you know he would, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he just, I don't know. I was just like, because you're LeBron James' son, and then he was like, he wants to go to, and he acted like he was such an old, like, inexperienced. You know, that was the joke in that movie too. Was like, he wants to go to gaming camp, like video game camp, like so, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that is. You know, and it's like this dude is like literally, he was one of the first people on Instagram. He's on TikTok. Like he's obviously like, he knows about this other stuff going on. You know, he plays 2K with other people. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like I don't know. He's not this old guy who's like, you can't do the dad dynamic with him. Is what I'm trying to say. You can't do that.
He doesn't seem like an old guy. He really does not seem like an old guy.
No, well, you can't do this whole like he's the old father who doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? That just is not. He's up on the trends because he has to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the world we live in. That's one thing Michael Jordan didn't have to worry about. He didn't have to worry about social media. You know, he didn't have to worry about like, you know, I'll give LeBron some credit there. Like Michael Jordan didn't have to worry about social media, and he at least had his own time to himself, which I don't think Michael Jordan would have been on social media. I get this feeling like he wouldn't have, you know, like he would have chose not to speak out on stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was most of it. They covered that in the documentary about people trying to get him to like speak out and stuff like that. And he just seemed like a guy who just wanted to play basketball. Like that's okay. You can be somebody who just wants to do one thing, and that's all you want to focus on. You don't want to really get wrapped up in politics and stuff like that. It's like, I prefer that. I prefer that in my celebrities and my Hollywood people. It's like, I'm not saying you can't have political opinion. I'm just saying you don't need to like tell everybody. Like, it's like you can just be yourself. You can be who you want to be and just do that thing. It's okay not everyone's gonna be Muhammad Ali. Not everyone's gonna be Kareem. You know, not everyone's gonna be this big outspoken voice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't. What I kind of like about our show is that like we'll talk about politics sometimes if it's relevant or if it's something we're interested in, but we try not to like shove it down someone's throat. You know what I mean? We try not to bring it up every single podcast. You know what I mean? Like it's like, because it's not fun. That's not why people like watching certain shows. That's not why people like watching sports. Like the literal reason they watch that stuff. I think Michael Jordan knew this too. The reason they watch sports and the reason they watch things besides the news is to get away from it. Like that's why people watch movies and TV shows, and because they want an escape from their everyday life, and everyday life has politics in it, and it has real world issues, and it's just like, I don't want to deal with that right now.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna go watch football. And that used to be something that we could all like rally around, like whether you were a Republican or a Democrat or Libertarian
mhm,
or conservative or liberal or whatever. Like
mhm,
if we both lived in Los Angeles, we both love the Lakers, and that's something we could bond around. It's like, hey,
yeah,
we both love the Lakers. Or
mhm,
if you lived in Boston and your neighbor was a hard-earned Bill Clinton supporter, but you love George Bush or whatever, whatever the parties were, it's like we can still bond that we both love the Patriots. That's something
yeah.
we can bond around.
And
But
if
now it's like you can't even do that anymore.
Yeah, and you'd usually joke about your differences in those settings, right?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
yeah,
you would, like you said, you would bond over the sports and the sports teams and over America and over all these different things. So, um, anyways, we're getting off on a tangent, but I think that's pretty much all we wanted to talk about today. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
we could do a quick blurb about Kyrie coming back.
Yes, I forgot Kyrie's coming back, which is interesting. So I guess we'll get in. I guess there's a little bit of sociology, anyways, in this. So that we'll have some of that. But yeah, Kyrie is finally coming back. Jonathan was telling me about it because we were kind of wondering if you guys didn't know what was going on with Kyrie. Like basically, he said, "I'm not getting the vaccine," and there's reasons why. Jonathan knows a little bit more about that, but and so the in Boston or in New York, Brooklyn, they have a vaccine mandate. And so they were like, well, you can't play if you don't take the vaccine. And basically, long story short, we were just kind of like, I wonder who's going to budge first. And it seems like the Brooklyn Nets have a little bit, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
they kind of need him. Like, honestly, like they're not doing terrible. They're doing pretty good, right? But I know the
yeah.
games that they've lost, they really needed someone like Kyrie.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and I think what's really getting them is they're having a lot of injuries. Kevin
mhm,
Durant's out, LeBron James is out. Sorry, not LeBron. James Harden. James Harden is out, and
wow.
a bunch of their players are just not playing. LaMarcus Aldridge is still. I think he's still out. It's just not coming together like they thought it was. So
Mhm,
it seems like they're like, okay, we don't want to lose anymore. So
yeah,
we'll just shoot him back in. So he's playing part time is what they're classifying it as part time because he's only playing away games. So he
that's
can't play
weird.
any games in New York. He can't play any
Mhm,
games in Toronto. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but Toronto has a new nationwide, or Canada has a new nationwide mandate where you have to be vaccinated in order to enter the country.
wow,
So
I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
crazy.
so he can't play any games in Toronto. If there are any Canadian games, he can't play those. Um, so he's only allowed to play away games currently. But I honestly think they're gonna budge. I think they're gonna budge again. Like this
Mhm,
was a game of chicken, and they bucked first. So
mhm.
that to me tells me they care more about winning than they care about this vaccine mandate. And by the time the
Mhm,
playoffs come around, you're not going to be able to play him strictly only on away games. Like you're just not going to be able to
yeah,
win that way. There's not going to be any chemistry for your team if you try to only play him in away games on playoff
mhm,
games in the playoff time. Especially if you get down to the finals and like, oh, he can only play 4 out of 7 games, or
mhm,
sorry, 3 out of 7 games. He can only play 3 out of 7 games. It's like,
mhm,
how are you trying to win a championship that way? That'd be the most weird championship I've ever seen. I don't
mhm.
think any team's gonna let you beat them, especially in the championship. Like the Suns, you can't beat the Suns playing Kyrie only 3 games. You can't. You're not gonna do that. So it's gonna be
So
interesting.
when's his? I'm trying to find their first away game that he'll be able to play. When is that? Do you
I,
know?
I don't know. I don't know as of now.
Okay, it looks like I'm guessing it's the 5th of January because it looks like it's the Nets at the Pacers.
Okay.
So I'm
That'd be
guessing he's going to play then because their next game is a home game, and it looks like they have home games for the next 2 after that. Because it's the 76ers at the Nets, then they have the Clippers at the Nets, and they have the Grizzlies at the Nets, and then they have the Nets at the Pacers. But he didn't play the last game, right? Against the
no, he
Clippers?
didn't.
Okay.
He isn't eligible to play until January 5th.
Oh, okay, so that game then,
Yeah.
right? That would be
So
that
so
game.
so but they're not saying that he's going to play. They're just saying
He's cleared for
this
that.
is when he's clear to play. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which would they not play him? if they have him cleared? Do you think that they would do that? Like, because I feel like it's a championship thing for them. They want to win a championship. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I don't know. I would think they would play him as soon as possible because you got to think he took a whole half of the season off, so he hasn't played
Yeah.
for most of the season, and he has to get his legs back underneath him. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of how talented you are, you can't sit 3 months out of basketball and come back and be like the way you were.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was going to ask you, do you think that him coming back will help him or help them, or do you think that it will maybe be a bit damaging at the beginning because he hasn't played? Because it's kind of up in the air, right? Like, I would want to say that he would be, like he would help the team by a
yeah.
wide margin, but I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is it depends on like how fast it depends on what he spent the last 3 months doing. Now, as far as I know, I think he's a vegetarian, so you gotta think he's still eating pretty well. You gotta think that he's still mostly trying to stay in some sort of shape to be prepared to come back. So it really just depends on how long it takes for him to get adjusted to lineups, to coaching, to getting back in the flow of playing 60-minute games or however long. 48-minute games, yeah. 48-minute games. But the real question, none of this really matters if he can't play in the playoffs. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. If they end up playing New York in a playoff series, he can't play any of the games because all those will be in New York. If they play the Raptors in the playoff series, he can't play any of those games because all those are going to be in Canada or New York. So it's like none of this matters until they figure out what they're going to do.
For the playoffs.
For the playoffs. Yeah, exactly.
Well, they got a little bit of time left, but they could lift the ban temporarily for the playoffs, which I think would be a bad idea. Like, because like you said, he's gonna have minimal playing time then at that point. Like that's what would happen. So I don't know if he would be an asset to them if he's not able to play all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I keep going back and forth on. I think that, to be honest, I think that you're seeing places become a little more lenient on vaccines due to the variants kind of getting weaker over time. Not to talk too much about COVID, because we know that COVID is, I'm tired of talking about it. I don't even talk about it anymore because I'm sick of tired talking about it. But I think the reason, because I'm starting to see that where I live, is people are kind of, taking a step back, it seems, at least, because they're just like, well, the newest variant, to my knowledge, I don't know if anybody's died from it. I know last I heard in South Africa, they had like no hospitalizations for people who got it. And the people who got it, like, they basically had very mild cold symptoms. So they had like runny noses, they were coughing a little bit. I think they said their throat was kind of dry, those types of things.
Yeah.
But nothing like you're going to die from it. And I believe the case is still the same in America. I don't know the numbers exactly. I'm not trying to, like I said, I don't know, but all I know is that this one is a lot weaker. I think it's more contagious, but it's like as far as what you get is extremely weak. So, which is in some ways is good, because if you get it and your body builds up antibodies, that would be great. So, I think that's why they might be leaning back. I mean, that's my guess. I mean, that probably mixed with, they've got some players who are hurt. So,
yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I would. I'm not sure what it would take for, because it wasn't strictly a arena imposed ban. It was more of like a statewide sort of deal. So it had to come from the governor again. And I'm not sure the governor would be willing to renege on his forcefulness in trying to promote people getting vaccinated, especially when you have someone who's so outspoken like Kyrie is. He's not really that outspoken. It's not like he's like going on every talk show and every podcast saying, "Oh, I don't like the vaccine."
Aaron Rodgers is more outspoken than he is right now, to be honest.
Kyrie was just like, "I don't want to put it in my body. That's it." And then he like just disappeared. He's like,
he was just like
faded into the black. Yeah. So, but you gotta think, every news report is going to be like, "Hey, Kyrie, what do you think about the vaccine? Have you decided to take it? Have you changed your mind? Day 15, have you decided to change your mind, Kyrie?" And then his team is going to have to obviously answer about it and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I'd be very surprised. I I think we're living in a very interesting time. That's all I'm going to say. I think we're living in a very interesting time. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do come playoff time, because that's when it's going to really matter. And they got to make a decision. Honestly, they got to make a decision pretty soon, because after he needs to play most of the games after All-Star break to really get him back into shape, to really get him back with the team, like you were saying. So
yeah, well, the other thing I was surprised about by the Brooklyn Nets, I was surprised that they didn't trade him. That really surprised me, because if you were serious about like
the vaccine,
if they were as serious as I thought they were, they would be like, okay, we're just going to get him out of here. If there's another team, maybe Oklahoma wants him, maybe Texas wants him, let's just get him out of here, because like
I think they would have done that, but I think Kevin Durant is so tied to him that they were afraid Kevin Durant would leave.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, because Kyrie was the one who brought Kevin Durant to the team. He recruited Kevin Durant, and so he was there before Kevin Durant even got there. And so
wasn't Kevin Durant upset about his decision though?
To not get the vaccine? No. Yeah. He was like, I respect him, man. He's a man. He do what he wants, and he was kind of like nonchalant about it. But they're really good friends, and so I think it was him being friends with Kevin Durant is what kept him from getting traded. But I don't know what you would give back for him. I mean, he's a good talent, but like it's not like he's like a LeBron James or something like that. The same thing with Westbrook. The Westbrook problem right now is like you want to trade him, but what do you get for him? Who's going to trade that big of a contract that he has and his poor playing? Who's going to want him and give you something valuable in return?
Man, don't talk about Westbrook like that. He's the greatest player of all time.
He's leading the league in turnovers.
That's just a stat. That's one stat.
You sound like LeBron James right now.
That's one stat, guys.
Well, what do you mean, man? He's the first ballot Hall of Fame. We just need Russ to be Russ. Do you really need Russ to be Russ?
You don't want Russ to be Russ.
No.
You don't.
No.
Because if that's the case, LeBron, you're gonna have to find a different team. That's how that works, man. You can't. LeBron James handing over his Laker kingdom.
I need to see you this clip. There is this clip. So LeBron has been playing really hard lately, and which is crazy that they've been on a 5-game losing streak, is because he's been playing really, really hard. Like I think he's been like over 25 the last like 5 games.
Oh,
they've been losing. And there was this one clip where LeBron literally gives 3 open passes, like it's just like on a dime passes, and all 3 of them are misses. And one of them was a layup, literally like a bunny, just like right there underneath the rim, just blank point misses it. It's crazy. But the last game they won, they beat the Rockets, Houston Rockets, which is like a throwaway team. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be impressed about that. But what was impressive was that both LeBron and Russell Westbrook had triple doubles, and they both had pretty good games. Russ had 24 points, and LeBron had like 30. So
yeah. Do you think Russell gets traded next year?
I still don't know who next year. I just don't know who takes him. I don't know who would want to take that hefty of a contract and then give you something valuable in return. Like maybe the long shot that I can see probably maybe working would be like Philadelphia, but I don't know that they would be. I don't know that they want Russ either.
What if he was with Damian Lillard?
No, that wouldn't work.
No, I mean they have similar play styles. That's why.
Yeah, they're both ball hogs. I mean, Dame can work off the ball a lot more than Russ definitely can, which is probably the benefit. But I don't see Russ winning a championship with anybody. So
that's fair.
If you're bringing him to your team, you're basically saying we know.
I don't think you see Russell winning a championship at all.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. Yeah. He just doesn't play well. I would say this: if he could swallow his pride, and they put him on the bench, and he comes off the bench and like plays with the second unit. If he was like a 6-man, I think he would be really good at that. You're talking about like half the minutes he normally plays, which means like half the chances for him to turn the ball over, half the chances for him to take poor shots. But he also has a group of players with him where he's in control. He gets to hold the ball the whole time. And he plays like maybe 25, maybe like 22 minutes a game, that kind of deal. I think you could really, really maximize his talent if you could do something like that. But currently, he's just not a good player. He honestly isn't. He isn't a good player, and I don't imagine.
He's never liked playing second fiddle. That's
Yeah,
the
no.
thing. He's never liked
Well,
being.
because he always thought he was the best player, you know?
Yeah.
Even when he was with Kevin Durant, he thought he was better than Kevin Durant.
Mhm.
At least that's how I felt he felt. I'm not saying
I
it's a
agree.
fact, but I felt
agree.
he felt he was better than Kevin Durant.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing was he was more humble when he first started.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was when it was a couple years, I would say right before Kevin Durant got, before he left.
You think it was the finals when you guys lost the finals?
Possibly, it could be. But he started because they played really well together. They always did. I mean, that's why they got to the finals, is because they played well. You don't get to the finals by not playing good. You know what I mean? Like, so it could have been around that point, but there was a point where it felt like he was kind of like, I can't do what I want to do because all these people are around, and then it kind of seems to be that seems to be his mentality. You know what I mean?
It sounds like you just described basketball. I can't do what I want to do because like that's how you play basketball, though, Russ. Like, no, it's not. Did you watch AI? Did you watch Michael Jordan? Did you watch Kobe? They play by themselves.
What you can say about, in my opinion, what you can say about Russell Westbrook is that he can lead a team, but he has to be like the guy.
The guy, yeah.
You can't have, and you can have someone that's like almost as good as him, but he has to know they're not as good as him. Like he has to know. Like, I feel like before you trade someone, he's like, okay, can we play a game of one-on-one real quick? And he's like, no, they beat me. They got to leave. He's not one of those like, you're better than me. I want you on my team. Like, he's like, you know what I mean?
I get you. I think I was trying to think of what was the point in that he kind of became that I want to be a solo act.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was when he got injured. The first time he got injured, because he was like an Iron Man for up until like that Patrick Beverly injury, right? And you guys were still winning without him. And I think Kevin Durant was like putting on the MVP season.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think that's what I think. It probably even further. It probably was Kevin Durant winning the MVP. I think that to him was like an insult because he was like, "I'm better than that guy."
Yeah, that could be.
Interesting.
I could see that. Yeah,
Sam Presti, what a genius, right? What a genius.
I love Sam Presti.
He's so underrated.
Are you being facetious? Yeah, you're not a fan of him, are you?
No, he got rid of James Harden. Like, that to me is the end of your career.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, to be honest, I will say this. I don't think anybody saw at that time
what James Harden was going to be.
Yeah.
That's fair, but I mean, he still was valuable enough to keep him.
He was. I think what was happening is I think he was nervous. I think he was like, we didn't win the finals, so we have to do something.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, he's the sixth man, so get rid of James Harden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was that wasn't a good idea. I agree. I thought that was a bad decision. But I mean, I think we would have won a championship the next year? No.
Really?
I don't.
Wow.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
I think you guys would have.
I don't think it was in the cards for us personally.
I mean, it was the Spurs. The Spurs won the championship the next. Not the Spurs. The Heat won the championship next year, but they played the Spurs. I don't think you guys could beat the Spurs.
We always had a weird relationship with the Spurs. It was always back and forth. I mean, the Spurs were probably the hardest team in our league to beat at the time. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, because you had this. I don't know. I just kind of feel like it wouldn't have worked out. But that's. I mean, I don't know. Hindsight is.
I mean, you guys did still have the same. Scott Brooks.
Yeah, we still had Scott Brooks.
I could see that. I could see that not working.
And you hate on Scott Brooks so much. He was a decent coach, all right.
Yeah, but he wasn't the coach. He wasn't. Steve
We've
Kerr.
never had the coach.
Mark Jackson. Okay, he's always been Mark Jackson.
We've never had the coach. Mark Jackson.
He gets underappreciated by Warriors fans.
We've never had the coach ever. We've never had the coach that will put us to the top. One of these days, maybe. I mean, I'm seeing good things with the team this year. Their defense has been lacking pretty bad lately.
Well, that's what you expect with young teams, though, right?
I guess, but we went from having the highest at the beginning of the season. We had the most rebounds out of any team, and then now we have like the most. I think it's like we give the most threes out of any team now. We don't contest shots apparently, so that's great. Anyways, how's your Boston Celtics doing?
Oh, we're I don't know. We can't get it right. I feel like we have a really good team. But I mean, it's our coach's first year, so I understand that. I just feel like, and this is the same way I feel about my Panthers, is that we have too many good pieces right now to be where we're at. We have too many pieces to not be in a playoff position. We have too many pieces to not be like top 3 teams in the East. And it's tough because you're like, okay, it's your coach's first year. He has a whole new system he wants to implement. He wants to do things his way, and he's still kind of trying to understand how to operate as a head coach by himself. He's never been a head coach before, so I don't know. We'll see what we're like after. Give me the first month after All-Star break, and I'll tell you what the team's going to be like. But as of now, there's just too many pieces to figure out.
That's fair. Well, I mean, I feel like you guys have been rebuilding for a while, which is kind of sad.
It was the bubble year. We should have won the championship the bubble year.
Would you have counted it though?
No, I wouldn't have counted it, but I would have counted it. I mean, obviously as a fan of the team, I would have counted it, but I would have known it was a fake ring because it just there were no crowds. You can't contest that. That's not an important part of the game. When you have people scoring at will, people who aren't that good, dropping 40 a night, that doesn't happen with crowds there. So no, it wouldn't have counted really, but I would have counted it as a fan, just personally. But no.
What do you think of? I saw IT is back, huh?
Oh, like I thought. I mean,
dang.
Like I thought. He's a really good pickup. If you're playing pickup basketball, you want him on your team. But if you're playing an NBA game, you don't want him on your team.
You hate on this man so much.
I don't hate him. I really liked him when he was a part of the Boston Celtics. He was a great player. I thought we didn't handle his situation very well, but ultimately he is who he is. He is who we thought he was. He's a ball dominant, shoot first, ask questions later, and a lack of a huge liability on defense. That's just who he is. He can't get away from that.
Well, I just looked up his stats. He's averaged 9.2 points.
What's his percentage?
So, let me look. Because I'm kind of curious. I just read an article that said the Lakers aren't going to bring him back for another 10-day contract, though.
Of course not.
But they said that. So I guess a leak said multiple teams are interested in signing him, though.
I mean, I'm sure he'll get a contract somewhere. I mean, everybody can use scoring. It's just he just can't do much else, and he's so small, much smaller than everybody else. I don't know. I hate to be that guy, but I just don't think he's that good against NBA talent.
No, that's fair. I don't think that's bad. I mean, to be honest, on the 23rd they played the Spurs and he played like garbage. He played 21. He played 21 minutes. He had 2 points, 1 field goal out of 5, and then he hit 0 out of 3 3-pointers. He had 3 rebounds, an assist, and a block, which is kind of crazy that he had a block for how small he was. But when he first started, he was playing decent. He had 19 points on when they played the Timberwolves. He had 13 points when he played the Bulls, which is okay. That's contributing, right? That's 19 points for 22 minutes isn't bad.
Yeah.
When they played the Bulls, they played him more. They played him 32 minutes, but he only got 13 points. And rebounds and assists were the same.
It's just in the NBA, with pickup games, people were watching him in these pickup games, in these charity games, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Isaiah Thomas scores 50 points. Oh my gosh, Isaiah Thomas scores 45 points." It's well, yeah, you can do that against regular people. I'm not saying you're not good at basketball. I'm just saying,
yeah.
The NBA is different. Teams scout you. They play against your weaknesses. They know what you can't do, and they're going to exploit that every time you come down the court, especially in the playoffs. And so, as much as I like the guy, as much as I probably think he's a good guy and he's a talented player, he has too many weaknesses, and that's the problem.
I think to be honest though, I think 10 days is not enough to see what he's capable of.
Oh yeah. I don't like the 10-day contract. I don't like it at all. I think it's a bad idea. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. His
field goal percentage isn't horrible, but it's not great. It could be better. But if you compare that to previous seasons, it's not I mean, I feel like he hasn't had enough time because his field goal percentage is 30%. It's 30.8. So it's it's not that great.
Oh my
There's been
gosh.
worse. There's been worse. But, like let's not talk about crap. Let's not talk about Kendrick Perkins. Um I mean, and he started for a while, so came off the bench for a
He's a
while.
champion,
So
okay? Don't blaspheme Kendrick.
I don't want
He's
to
an
hear that.
NBA champion, okay?
Yeah, he loves flashing that ring on all
That one ring.
all the shows that he's on where he talks nonsense with his garbage viewpoints. I don't like him as a commentator, man. I think he's so annoying. Like I've seen some of the stuff he says, and I'm just like, you're just wanting attention. Like you're not very good. Anyway, so he's
Yeah,
had
I will say that I rarely agree with him. I do rarely agree with what he says.
same. Yeah, I'm not really a fan. But he's had his field goal percentage is 30. He played for did he play for I didn't know he played for the New Orleans Pelicans last year.
Yeah, he got traded a bunch.
Yeah. So this is kind of his better year. So like when he was with Washington in the 19 to 20 season, he had a 40% field goal percentage. Season before that he had 34, then 36, then 38, he had 37. Then the 16 to 17 was probably when he played for Boston was probably his best year, which that's why it surprises me that they traded him. But when he was playing for Boston, his best year, he's 46% field goal percentage. So I mean, he did. That's the thing is like if you look at his current season with the Lakers and then you look at his previous stats, I don't think he got enough time. Like I think if you give him a month, then you're probably going to figure out what you got for him. But they probably don't want to make that sacrifice. Also, why would you go to the Lakers? The Lakers is the worst place to try him out, don't you think?
Yeah, I was very confused. I mean, because you got to understand like his game requires for him to have the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In order for him to get his points, he really needs to have the ball a lot. Like he's kind of like a Westbrook, like he's a Damian Lillard. Like he's a guy who needs to have the ball constantly in order for him.
But
to
he
get
doesn't produce as much, right?
Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of your thing.
Yeah, no.
Does he? He seems like a playmaker though. He seems like he's good at. You're so done talking about him. You're just like,
he was on my team.
Around.
I liked him when he was on my team, so it's hard for me to be like, oh, he sucks or whatever. And I wouldn't say that about him anyway. But I do think that he's a little overhyped because of his like him being like on all these charity games and stuff like that. It's like the NBA is just different. It's just different.
It is. I agree with you. I still think the thing is I still think he could fit on a team somewhere. That's why I feel bad for I feel bad that he's had a decently successful career, but then nobody wants him. You know what I mean? That's kind of more so why I'm probably more pro Isaiah Thomas. I don't want him. Well, you know what? He could go to the Thunder. Have him go to the Thunder. Maybe, he might make something happen there. We'll take him for a little bit. Well, we don't really have a playmaker. We don't really have in my opinion, a good point guard. We have, I think he's our point guard. What's his name?
Shai Gildress Alexander.
Is he a shooting guard or a point guard?
I think it's a 2. I would think it was a 2. But we're in the positionless basketball era.
Who did you hear that from?
So stupid.
Who said that?
All the analysts.
Well, they're just trying to be inclusive. That's the case. Positionless basketball era? That sounds really dumb. That sounds purposeless. That's what it sounds like, man. Let me see. Roster. I'm trying to figure out here. Okay. Why is he not first? There we go. Yeah, he's point guard. He's point guard. Shai's a point guard. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, I feel like they can move him though. He's the guy that makes all of our points for us, you know. They can move him elsewhere.
You mean like on the court or like to a different team?
No, on the court. On the court.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to
I mean, he's like 6'4", I think. So he could be a 2.
He's 6'6".
Yeah. He could be a 2. I think he's not big though. I don't think he has any like real meat on him. So
no, he couldn't
want to put him at 3.
No, he couldn't be a power forward, but he could be a shooting guard. That'd be
Yeah.
fine. So, but I mean, I think what I'm saying is there's lots of teams that are having no
Eric,
success
there
right
isn't
now.
a shooting guard anymore. Sorry, I just was thinking. There's no more shooting guards. You mean he's a guard or a forward?
What do you
Those are
mean
the
there's not a
only
shooting
two.
guard?
Those are the only two positions that exist now. Is guards and forwards.
Are you playing with me or are you? I can't tell if you're joking with me or not. Is
Welcome
that
to
a
the
serious?
age of positionless basketball.
That's not true. That's not true, Jonathan. It says SG right next to Josh Giddey.
What is
That's-
LeBron? Is he a point guard? Is he a small forward? What is he?
He's a power forward. No, he's not.
What is Kevin Durant? Is he a power forward? Is he a center?
Why? You're really confusing me now. I just want you to know that. Because I haven't heard this take, apparently. I haven't
Really?
heard this take. No, I have not. I have not
Wow.
heard.
You've been missing for a while,
I disagree with it, though.
huh?
Just from what you've said, like, I don't see why that is a good way
That's
to
'cause
play
you're an old
basketball.
head. That's because you're an old head. I bet you don't even believe in analytics, huh? You don't, do you? You think they're stupid.
No, I don't. They're numbers that they don't matter. That's why I want Isaiah Thomas to have a contract.
You sound like
They-
Chuck. It's who you
'Cause they
sound
don't
like.
matter.
You sound like Charles Barkley.
Why's that?
Them stupid guys with the analytics.
He does say that all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
That's hilarious. No, I just think I think that there's probably lots of teams that aren't having very much success, and you should throw him on one of those teams. Don't try to put him up with don't try to put him up with a superstar. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to play on LeBron's team. I'm sorry, he's not going to be good with LeBron. That's how I viewed it. When I saw him at Boston, I thought that was a good fit for him because obviously he was playing well, but
He was also
also he could play his game there, right? Like,
Yeah.
put him in a place where he can play his game. If he does good, then he does. If he doesn't do good after that, then just get rid of him. Like, he had his chance, you know. Your team's not going to win a championship, so why don't you take a crack at him? That's kind of how I view it, you know.
Yeah, I think he can go back to. I mean, I don't think the Pelicans won him again, but
Mhm.
I'm just thinking about the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets might be able to take him. I
Yeah,
don't think Jamal Murray is back yet. He might be out for the season, honestly.
we should get Derek Fisher out of retirement. Get him to play for us again. No, I'm just kidding. That was fun. That was fun when he was there. I really enjoyed watching Derek Fisher play in a Thunder jersey. I enjoyed that. Well, I think we've run our course. It's getting quiet, so I think we're about done. But is there anything else you want to talk about?
One of these days we're gonna do a 6-hour live stream.
Oh my gosh, what, New Year's Eve?
Oh no, not this year, but when we have the fans and everyone wants us to keep going.
That'd be fun. I'd enjoy it. I have to go to work, so that's fun. But anyways, I know. Frustrating. Anyways, well, thank you all for watching. We had some loyal fans throughout. Honestly, we had some people watching us throughout the whole stream, so I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for coming and visiting here. We will be back next week on Tuesday, more than likely. Today's a Wednesday, but we usually stream on Tuesdays, and that's going to be the 4th. So we'll be back here again on Just Visiting, talking about all different kinds of topics. Jonathan, anything else you want to say before we leave?
Okay.
All right. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on the places where we're on Facebook. The places where we stream on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. So we're on all 3 of those platforms. And like Jonathan always says, feel free to listen to us while you're doing other stuff. Play us in the background. It's a good time. So we also enjoy getting comments. So if you're ever watching, feel free to leave us a comment. We try to recognize them when we get them every once in a while. So, and we're hoping one day to do a all Q&A kind of show, which would be fun. We would love to do that. So anyways, but that's going to be it for now. And this is Eric and Jonathan from Just Visiting, and we are signing off. So we'll see you guys next week.